Welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. As I stepped outside, the cold air embraced me, causing a shiver to run down my spine. The snow crunched beneath my boots, creating a rhythmic melody in the stillness of the morning. Everything seemed tranquil, until my eyes caught sight of something peculiar. A set of footprints, fresh and deep, tracing a path directly to my front door. These prints were not my own. Standing there in contemplation, I observed my breath forming wispy clouds in the crisp winter air. The overnight snowfall had draped a pristine white cover over the world, glistening under the gentle morning light. The footprints stood out boldly against this snowy canvas, each one etched with purpose. Intrigued, I followed the trail backward with a sense of curiosity. The footprints originated from the woodland's edge that bordered my property, where ancient pine trees stood tall and majestic, adorned with heavy snow. A soft breeze rustled through the pine needles, creating a soothing symphony that synced with the rhythm of my heartbeat. The early light filtered through the clouds, casting a soft, diffused glow over everything. The world appeared hushed, as if wrapped in a cozy cocoon. Even the usual chatter of morning birds had been replaced by the gentle creaking of snow-laden branches and the distant whisper of falling snow. Kneeling down to inspect one of the prints, I noted their peculiar nature. Not too large, not too small, yet somehow distinct from any footwear I had encountered. The edges were sharp, hinting at their freshness, but the shape held a uniqueness that eluded identification. The snow within each indentation displayed an intricate crystalline design, resembling miniature frost flowers in bloom. Following the tracks towards my door, a sense of unease crept over me. While my own footprints left clear impressions of my winter boots, these mysterious prints seemed to possess a subtle shimmer, as if capturing light from an unseen angle. The longer I gazed, the more I noticed minuscule details that seemed to shift and alter when I diverted my focus. Inside my home, all appeared undisturbed. The familiar creaks of the wooden floors accompanied me as I moved from room to room, checking every window and door. Nothing seemed out of place, yet the morning light filtering through the windows cast shadows that danced with an unfamiliar grace. An elusive scent lingered in the air, ancient and wild, a blend of pine needles and winter frost that tickled my senses. Throughout the day, my attention gravitated back to the window, fixated on those enigmatic footprints. The sun made its slow journey across the sky, casting a warm glow that gently softened and blurred my own tracks, while those mysterious prints remained sharp and defined, defying the passage of time. As twilight descended upon the landscape, I settled into my favorite chair by the window, wrapped in a cozy blanket, watching as daylight faded into dusk. The footprints took on a faint luminescence in the growing darkness, barely discernible unless one knew precisely where to look. They seemed to pulsate softly, like a distant heartbeat echoing through the snow. Night enveloped the world, accompanied by a gentle snowfall. Mesmerized, I watched as fresh flakes drifted down from the darkened sky. However, instead of filling the mysterious footprints, the snowflakes avoided them altogether, as if acknowledging a boundary beyond our perception. Preparing for bed that night, the house exuded a subtle shift, not menacing, but a subtle alteration, akin to a painting hung askew. The familiar creaks and settling of my old home now whispered cryptic messages just beyond my grasp. Drifting off to sleep, I listened to the gentle patter of snow against the window, pondering the origins of those elusive footprints. In my dreams, I traversed alongside those enigmatic steps, venturing through the woods where trees seemed to bow in reverence, their boughs creating crystalline arches overhead. With each step, the world metamorphosed into a blend of the known and the wondrously strange. At dawn's arrival, an inexplicable urgency drew me to the window. The snowfall had ceased, leaving the world cloaked in pristine white once more. The mysterious footprints persisted, now leading both towards and away from my door. And there, upon my doorstep, rested a single object that captured my breath. A perfectly crafted ice crystal, radiating the hues of the aurora borealis within its delicate structure. The enigma of who or what had left those prints in the snow remained unsolved. Yet, on quiet winter nights, beneath the full moon and the soft descent of snow, glimpses of similar tracks would materialize in my yard, guiding me to and from the woods. Each time, instead of fear, a gentle reminder enveloped me that within this world, mysteries still exist, defying logic and infusing magic into the tranquil moments between sleep and wakefulness. Story 2. As the house lay hushed, only the gentle whisper of the wind could be heard outside. Nestled in the living room, engrossed in a book, a soft utterance pierced the stillness. It was my name, spoken with a delicate touch, emanating from the direction of the kitchen. My heart quickened its pace as I rose from my seat. Yet, upon reaching the kitchen, I found it empty, void of any presence besides my own. For 3 days, solitude had been my companion within these walls, accompanied by the ceaseless autumn rain that painted a soothing white noise backdrop. The aged wooden floors murmured beneath my steps, muffled by the woolen embrace of my socks. The kitchen basked in a gentle gray luminescence filtering through rain-kissed windows. All remained as I had left it, the tea mug lingering on the counter, wisps of steam curling upwards, the dish towel casually draped over the oven handle, the antique wall clock's rhythmic ticking marking the passage of time. Yet, an inexplicable shift lingered in the air, thickening it, making it palpable. Seeking grounding, I trailed my fingertips along the cool granite countertop, attempting to anchor myself in the moment. Rationality whispered that sounds often deceive, especially within the aged walls of old homes with their settling bones and aging pipes. Still, the call of my name resonated in my mind, soft, familiar, akin to a clandestine whisper meant solely for my ears. The rain intensified, a comforting drum against the windows, coaxing me towards the kitchen pane. There, I watched rivulets race, each droplet capturing a glimmer of light, scattering tiny prisms across the glass. Yet, within my reflection, a subtle wrongness lingered. My mirrored self blinked fractionally delayed from my own movements. Startled, I stepped back, grazing the silent copper wind chime suspended by the window. Their stillness persisted, even as my touch grazed them deliberately. The metal chilled my skin beyond its natural coolness. That night unfolded with a newfound awareness enveloping me. Every shadow seemed to conceal depth, each silence pregnant with unspoken possibilities. The house groaned and murmured, its symphony both familiar and alien. Subtle incongruities caught my eye, books askew on shelves, picture frames tilted at unfamiliar angles, rooms morphing subtly in my absence. With night's descent, the rain's symphony ceased, leaving behind a profound quietude. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cocooned in a thick blanket, I listened to the silence. Beyond the windows, the darkness pressed in, while the warm glow of my reading lamp carved a sanctuary of light. Once more, the call of my name drifted down from upstairs. Clearer now, the voice held an elusive undertone I struggled to define. Not menacing, but tinged with a yearning, like a distant soul beckoning from afar. Drawn by an inexplicable force, I ascended the stairs. Each step felt weightier, yet lighter, than expected, while the carpet absorbed sound, enveloping me in a cocoon of silence. At the landing, I paused, hand resting upon the smooth banister. Moonlight spilled through the windows, casting elongated shadows across the hallway, a soft luminescence bathing the scene. A subtle shift in the air enveloped me, akin to the transition between solitude and being observed. Yet it bore no malice, rather a curious, cautious attention akin to a child's gaze. In the guest bedroom, My old music box lay open upon the dresser, a relic I believed stowed away long ago, its ballerina poised mid-pirouette, frozen in time. Approaching, I noted the mirror above the dresser failed to reflect my image. Instead, it portrayed the room as it existed years past, adorned with different curtains and hues. Transfixed, I watched as the scene gradually merged into the present reality. That night, beneath the covers, a revelation stirred within me, illuminating the essence of the house, and perhaps reality itself. The voice that beckoned my name sought not to instill fear, but to unveil hidden truths, to reveal the fragile boundaries where time and memory intertwine, where past and present coexist harmoniously. The source of the voice, be it who or what, remained a mystery. Yet fear transformed into acceptance. Now, when my name echoes through vacant chambers, a smile graces my lips. Occasionally, I respond in kind, though the voice remains enigmatic, leaving subtle gestures in its wake. A book opened to a poignant passage, a photograph angled towards the light, or my grandmother's wind chimes humming softly in a windless room. The enigma persists, yet it evolves into a comforting familiarity, akin to a beloved sweater worn on cool evenings. Some mysteries demand no solution, while certain presences require no comprehension to be embraced. In the tranquil interlude betwixt day and night, where light dances with shadow and time meanders, I await that familiar call, guiding me homeward to a place never truly left. Story 3. The gentle hum of my computer filled the room with a soothing melody as I settled in to peruse my emails. Amidst the tranquil ambience, a flicker on the screen unveiled a message I hadn't encountered before. The sender's name was my own, yet the subject line bore an enigmatic warning. Do not venture outside tomorrow. A subtle shiver cascaded down my spine, not born of fear, but rather of intrigue. The soft blue glow from the monitor cast delicate shadows across my desk as I leaned in, my fingertips poised above the mousepad. The timestamp on the email indicated a transmission from 3 days hence, causing a slight hitch in my breath. Outside, the rain pattered against the window, creating a melodic backdrop, its rhythmic cadence harmonizing with the beat of my heart. With a click, I opened the enigmatic email, observing as the text materialized on the screen, each word unfurling with deliberate grace. I sense your confusion in this moment. I vividly recall occupying the same space, reading these very words. The dim light in your room, the echoing tick-tock of the ancient grandfather clock down the hallway. Take a moment to truly listen to its cadence. I paused, diverting my focus to the steady rhythm emanating from the distant timepiece. The email spoke true. The sound had always been present, yet its reassuring constancy had eluded my notice until now. Come tomorrow morn, the urge to depart at precisely 8:15 will beckon. Resist. Remain within until the stroke of noon. Brew a cup of chamomile tea, that special reserve you've been safeguarding. Position yourself by the window and observe. The purpose behind this missive will become clear at 8:17. My fingers traced intricate patterns on the desk as I contemplated the message. The cool, smooth surface of the wood beneath my touch grounded me in the present moment as my thoughts meandered through realms of possibility. The message bore no menace. Instead, it carried a gentle forewarning, akin to a guardian advising a ward on the temperature of hot cocoa. The evening unfolded in a state of tranquil vigilance, my senses attuned to nuances previously overlooked. The gentle sway of the curtains stirred by the vent's whisper, the lingering fragrance of lavender from a candle burned earlier, wafting through the room, the familiar yet novel murmurs and creaks of my abode. That night, sleep enveloped me in a profound embrace, serenaded by the rain's lullaby and the enigmatic allure of the morrow. My dreams wove a tapestry of gentle visions, digital clocks with liquid numerals, screens rippling like tranquil waters, and the ceaseless, comforting tick-tock of time's passage. As dawn broke, I eschewed the alarm, awakening naturally at 7:45 to a room bathed in an ethereal light. The sky beyond my window bore an otherworldly hue, not quite overcast, yet not entirely clear, as if reality itself had been subtly altered, the world's contrast adjusted. Following the instructions, I prepared the chamomile tea, selecting my cherished porcelain cup, its hairline crack lending it a peculiar charm. The water pirouetted and twirled, transmuting into liquid gold, tendrils of steam curling inquisitively in the morning air. At 8:10, I settled into the armchair beside the window, tea cradled in my hands. The street below lay hushed, an unusual stillness cloaking the morning. No early risers, no canine companions, no delivery vans disrupting the silence, merely vacant sidewalks and an eerie, silvery ambiance pervading the air. At the customary hour of 8:15, when my routine would dictate a stroll, I observed a subtle distortion meandering through the atmosphere outside, akin to heat waves shimmering on a summer day yet moving horizontally. Its subtlety rendered it exquisite, a phenomenon unnoticed had I been traversing the outdoors. And at 8:17, enlightenment dawned. The distortion reached the towering oak across the street, causing time to momentarily fold in on itself. I beheld the tree existing across myriad seasons concurrently, naked branches intertwined with verdant summer foliage, autumnal hues melding with spring's nascent buds. The phenomenon transpired fleetingly, yet within that fleeting moment, I witnessed time exhale. As swiftly as it arrived, the anomaly dissipated, leaving behind a solitary crimson leaf pirouetting from the oak, a vivid emblem of autumn amidst the vernal backdrop. Sipping my tepid tea, a smile played upon my lips, comprehension flooding through me akin to the tea's warmth. Later that day, I crafted an email, scheduling it to dispatch itself 3 days prior. Not to avert calamity or alter destiny, but merely to gift myself this instant of tranquil marvel. A serene morning of observing time pirouette beyond my window while relishing chamomile tea. Some enigmas, I realized, defy resolution. They are meant to be witnessed, experienced, akin to a gentle zephyr carrying scents of distant realms, equally tangible yet slightly beyond reach. And sometimes the finest gift we bestow upon ourselves is not elucidation, but a moment of serene contemplation, an opportunity to witness the universe's quiet miracles unfold while ensconced safely indoors, enveloped in the embrace of anticipation and faith. The grandfather clock, stationed down the hall, continued its unerring march, measuring time with unwavering precision, as though naught extraordinary had occurred. Perhaps, in its age-old wisdom, it comprehended that the most extraordinary moments merit met with serene acceptance, akin to greeting an old friend awaiting acquaintance. Story 4. The house lay quiet, enveloped in a serene hush, broken only by the soft ticking of the clock adorning the wall. Having secured all the doors and drawn the curtains closed, I felt a sense of readiness to unwind for the night. But then a knock disrupted the tranquility. It was gentle yet persistent, causing me to freeze, my gaze instinctively drawn towards the door. No one stood on the other side. The memory of that evening remains vivid in my mind. The autumn air had turned crisp, and the warm glow of my favorite vanilla-scented candle danced on the walls, casting delicate shadows. The gentle creak of my grandmother's old rocking chair accompanied my settling down with a worn paperback book, wrapped snugly in the chenille blanket she had lovingly knitted for me years ago. The knock repeated, 3 soft taps echoing evenly, akin to someone gently rapping their knuckles against the sturdy wood. I remained motionless, listening intently. The clock's rhythmic ticking persisted, marking each passing second with unwavering precision. My breath hitched as I kept my eyes fixed on the door, knowing I had meticulously checked every lock before settling in for the night. The patter of rain outside added a soothing backdrop to the otherwise silent house. I tried to convince myself that the knock was a figment of my imagination, or perhaps a branch brushing against the doorframe. However, deep down, I acknowledged the reality of what I had heard. Rising slowly from the rocking chair, I made my way towards the door. The wooden floorboards, typically silent, seemed to whisper beneath my feet. The warm light from my reading lamp cast a golden glow that did not quite reach the entryway, leaving it draped in comforting shadows. Standing before the door, I scrutinized the space between the door and the floor, searching for any hint of movement or shadow on the other side. Another knock resonated, this time close enough for me to feel the vibrations through the air. My hand hovered near the doorknob, sensing the coldness of the brass even from a short distance away. The scent of vanilla mingled with the musty aroma of aged wood and rain, filling the room with an intoxicating fragrance. In a barely audible whisper, I called out, "Who's there?" The words lingered in the thick silence, absorbed by the stillness surrounding me. No reply followed, only the continuous patter of rain and the unwavering ticking of the clock. Moving to the window adjacent to the door, I cautiously drew back the curtain, allowing a glimpse outside. The soft glow of the porch light illuminated the wet wooden boards, revealing no presence. No footprints marred the forming puddles, no movement amidst the rain-kissed shadows. As I let the curtain fall back into place, something seized my attention. The raindrops against the window seemed to form a pattern, almost resembling whispered words. I found myself swaying gently, entranced by the melodic sound. The house settled and creaked around me, its ancient structure adjusting to the weather. The knocking resumed, but this time it was different. It seemed to emanate from all directions simultaneously, enveloping the walls, windows, and ceiling in a symphony of gentle yet persistent taps. Standing in the heart of the living room, I turned slowly, attempting to trace the elusive source of the sound. The clock chimed midnight, its echoes blending with the chorus of knocks. With the final note fading, silence descended, even the rain holding its breath. In that moment of utter stillness, I noticed something that sent shivers down my spine. The reflection in the mirror above the fireplace depicted the rocking chair moving ever so slightly, as if someone had just risen from it. Turning to face the chair directly, I found it motionless. Upon glancing back at the mirror, the reflection mirrored reality once more. The vanilla-scented candle flickered without a hint of a breeze. The clock resumed its steady ticking, and the rain resumed its gentle lull against the window panes. That night, I chose not to open the door. I remained seated in my grandmother's rocking chair until the break of dawn, enveloped in her knitted blanket, listening to the rain and the occasional distant knock. As the first light of morning seeped through the curtains, I drifted off to sleep. Upon awakening, everything appeared as it should be. The candle had extinguished, leaving a faint trace of vanilla in the air. The rain had ceased, and sunlight bathed the room in a warm glow. Yet, as I approached the door to unlock it, I noticed something that gave me pause. Tiny droplets of water adorned the inside of the door, as if someone had ventured in from the rain. To this day, on quiet rainy nights, I sometimes hear that gentle knocking. I have grown accustomed to its presence, a mysterious visitor who lingers at the threshold, never entering yet never truly departing. Occasionally, as I drift into slumber, I ponder whether the knocking emanates from outside at all, or if it resonates from a deeper place within the house, beckoning to something profound within me. Story 5. The bathroom filled with a warm mist after my shower, wrapping me in a cocoon of steam. My hand reached out to the foggy mirror, eager to clear away the condensation. As the glass slowly cleared, my breath caught in my throat. There, in a vivid red stain, were words that seemed to materialize out of thin air. "I'm watching you." At first, a shiver of fear trickled down my spine, but soon curiosity replaced it as I noticed something peculiar about the writing. The red pigment had a shimmering quality, shifting between shades of crimson and soft pink as the steam twirled around it like a ballet. I found myself entranced by the gentle dance of colors, akin to watching the sun's final rays caress the surface of a tranquil lake. The soothing sound of raindrops tapping against the bathroom window provided a melodic backdrop as I focused on the mysterious message. The rain's rhythm painted intricate patterns on the glass, harmonizing with the steady thump of my own heartbeat. A distant rumble of thunder echoed in the background, its voice more reassuring than ominous, as if nature itself whispered ancient secrets to me. Running my fingers over the mirror, I expected to feel the raised texture of the writing, but to my surprise, only smooth glass met my touch. The writing appeared to be embedded beneath the surface, as if it had fused with the mirror itself. The longer I gazed at it, the more it resembled delicate frost patterns forming on a winter window, but in reverse, emerging from within rather than without. The lingering scent of lavender from my shower gel mingled with the earthy aroma of petrichor drifting in through the slightly ajar window. Wisps of steam continued to waltz around the edges of the mirror, creating an ever-changing frame for the enigmatic message. The warm humidity enveloped me like a cozy embrace, transforming the surreal moment into a dreamlike trance. In the soft glow of the bathroom light, a new discovery awaited me. Subtle symbols, almost imperceptible, appeared to be concealed within the strokes of each letter. They bore a resemblance to ancient script, but every time I tried to decipher them, they shifted and morphed like elusive shadows, slipping through my grasp like wisps of smoke. The mesmerizing effect drew me deeper into contemplation. The old house murmured softly around me, its wooden structure settling contentedly in the rain. Rather than unsettling me, these familiar sounds provided a sense of companionship in this twilight of mystery. The warmth of the wooden floor beneath my feet anchored me in the present moment, even as my thoughts drifted through a realm of endless possibilities. As I stood there, time seemed to ebb and flow in a peculiar rhythm. The red writing pulsed subtly, akin to a distant heartbeat. Its gentle glow, like a flickering candle in a dark room, synchronized perfectly with the falling rain, orchestrating a symphony of visual and auditory sensations. I swayed involuntarily, captivated by the harmonious interplay of elements surrounding me. The rain continued its gentle percussion, the house contributed its occasional creaks, and the mirror harbored its enigma. Even the air bore weight and substance, carrying a medley of scents: lavender, rain, and an elusive essence reminiscent of aged parchment or antique wood. Days slipped by, and the message remained unchanged. It neither faded nor evolved, yet each viewing seemed to offer a different perspective. In the morning light, it appeared playful, like a child's whimsical sketch. By moonlight, it took on an ethereal quality, hovering just beyond the glass's surface. During storms, it shimmered with the lightning's flash, leaving me to question if my eyes deceived me. Despite the ominous words, I never felt threatened by the message. Instead, it became a meditative focal point, a daily reminder that reality harbored mysteries beyond our comprehension. On sleepless nights, I found myself drawn to the bathroom, observing the moonlight's dance upon the mirror, allowing my mind to drift in the tranquil uncertainty. What intrigued me most was the message's curious reaction to music. Soft classical melodies in the evening seemed to coax the red writing into a gentle pulse that mirrored the music's cadence. The effect was so subtle that I often doubted its existence, wondering if my mind conjured illusions. Yet on silent nights, when the house slumbered and my thoughts stilled, I could swear the writing swayed to the melodies that caressed the air. I shared the secret of the message with no one. It felt like an intimate dialogue between myself and the mysterious entity that chose to communicate through my mirror. Some enigmas, I learned, were meant to be embraced rather than unraveled or shared. They served as gentle whispers that wonder still thrived in the world, concealed within the steam of a morning shower or the reflection of a midnight moon. The message persisted, unchanged and enigmatic. Occasionally I glimpsed movement in the mirror beyond the writing, a fleeting shadow, or a transient distortion in the glass. Yet before I could focus on it, the apparition vanished, akin to grasping at the remnants of a dream upon awakening. And somehow, that felt fitting. Over time, I learned to cherish the unknown. The message evolved into a gentle reminder that certain mysteries held more value than their solutions, that the enigma itself could offer solace. Each morning, as the mirror fogged and cleared to reveal those crimson words, I found peace in accepting that certain aspects of life remained beyond our grasp, observing us as we observed them in return. Story 6. The aged looking glass was a weighty and exquisite treasure, a relic hailing from a bygone era. Its frame, adorned with intricate gold detailing, bore the marks of time's passage. Yet once I hung it on my wall and peered into its depths, I beheld more than just my own reflection. There, beside me, stood another figure, unfamiliar to my eyes. Initially, I doubted what I saw, attributing it to mere trickery of the soft evening light. The figure appeared ethereal, akin to a watercolor painting left to blur in the rain. Positioned just behind my left shoulder, their features remained soft and elusive. Upon turning around, I confirmed the absence of anyone in the room. Yet, when I gazed back at the mirror, the enigmatic figure lingered, observing me with a gaze mirroring my own intrigue. This mirror had beckoned to me from a small, dusty antique shop, nestled amidst forgotten relics and layers of time. The shopkeeper offered scant details of its origin, mentioning only its acquisition from an estate sale at an ancient manor house. Surprisingly reasonable in price for such a splendid piece, its weathered charm captivated me. I began to spend extended moments before the mirror, captivated by the dance of light upon its surface. The glass bore a subtle waviness, characteristic of aged mirrors, causing the reflections to sway and distort like scenes beneath water's surface. During the quiet hours of dawn and dusk, I would often sit cross-legged before it, witnessing as the mysterious figure gradually materialized. Clad in attire of a bygone era, this much was discernible. A high collar, flowing sleeves, and a glint of a brooch at their neck were apparent. Their coiffed hair hinted at meticulous grooming, though precise details eluded my perception. What intrigued me most was their lack of menace. Instead, they exuded a gentle sorrow, as if awaiting news that would never arrive. With each passing week, subtle shifts manifested in the mirror's reflection. Objects appeared slightly altered from reality, a book left open rather than closed, a cup relocated to a different surface. The figure remained constant, yet the world surrounding them morphed in small, tantalizing ways. One serene evening, rain tapping softly against my window panes, a new revelation emerged. The figure had drawn nearer to their side of the mirror, granting me a clear view of their eyes for the first time. Kind and wise, their eyes transcended the barrier between our realms. Their outstretched hand pressed against the glass, testing its solidity. Unthinkingly, I mimicked their gesture, feeling the coolness of the glass beneath my fingertips. A subtle vibration, akin to a distant bell's hum, resonated momentarily, thickening the air with possibilities. Fragrances of lavender and aged paper wafted through the room, though absent from my surroundings. Come morning, a weathered envelope awaited on my dresser, though I resided alone and knew not how it arrived. Within, a sepia-toned photograph revealed a woman before the same mirror, my mirror, in its original setting. Clad in attire mirroring the figure I encountered, her pose matched the initial reflection that captivated me. Presently, each evening finds me seated before the mirror, sharing tranquil hours with my mysterious companion. At times I read aloud, pondering if my words bridge the gap between us. Others I observe as daylight wanes, transforming the mirror into a portal of undiscovered possibilities. Despite delving into the manor house's history, scrutinizing ownership records and aged photographs, the identity of my mirror companion eludes me. Perhaps some enigmas are destined for experience rather than unraveling, akin to snow's gentle descent or moonlight casting shadows. The figure persists, neither wholly present nor absent, existing within the threshold of reality and dreams. They offer solace, a reminder of the boundless wonder the world conceals. Upon glimpsing a flicker of movement in the mirror's periphery, a smile graces my lips, imagining a parallel reality where they reciprocate. Though contemplating authentication or expert examination for the mirror, a reluctance holds me back. There lies a delicate enchantment in the unknown, in preserving the enigma unsolved. The mirror has transcended furniture, becoming a portal to introspection, a testament to reality's fluidity. As I pen these words, their reflection lingers in the mirror, observing with patient curiosity that first captivated me. Their presence, a constant in the ebb of my days, akin to a clock's steady tick or rhythmic breath. While the full truth may forever elude me, tranquility blossoms in the gentle mystery that envelops us. Story 7, The Ocean's Whisper. The waves caressed the sandy shore with a gentle rhythm, their soothing sound blending harmoniously with the salty, fresh air that enveloped me. As my feet traced a path along the beach, a glint of light caught my eye. There, half buried in the soft sand, lay an ancient glass bottle, its cork sealed tight as if guarding a long-held secret. Intrigued, I reached for the bottle and carefully uncorked it, revealing a delicate piece of parchment nestled inside. The paper, weathered and fragile, unfurled to reveal a message addressed to me, signed by a mysterious sender. The elegant handwriting, etched in deep blue ink, bore my name, Sarah. Yet, a sense of unease crept over me, for the words spoke of a connection beyond my comprehension. My dearest Sarah, the letter began, weaving a tale that transcended time itself. It spoke of moonlit nights and temporal tides, where past and present danced in delicate balance. As I settled onto the cool sand, the sky above painted in hues of soft purples and pinks by the setting sun, the letter's narrative unfolded like a whispered lullaby. The unseen author described moments they had witnessed, moments from my own life that felt both intimate and surreal. Details only known to me echoed on the page: the wooden box of my grandmother, the shells collected each evening, and even the scar on my palm, hidden from the world. With each word, the boundary between reality and fantasy blurred, like the shifting sands beneath my feet. The bottle itself seemed to shimmer in the dwindling light, its glass oscillating between ages past and present moments, a manifestation of the timeless tale it held within. "I know you'll find this message today, Sarah," the letter whispered, a faint echo of the sea breeze. The revelation of being a thread woven into a larger tapestry, a pattern of existence repeating like the eternal ebb and flow of the tide, left me spellbound. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the shore, a tingling sensation crept up my spine. The world around me transformed, veiled in twilight's embrace. The air thickened with a mist that rolled in whispers, shrouding the landscape in a cloak of mystery. In the distance, the lighthouse beam pierced through the fog, its luminance flickering between modern brilliance and the nostalgic glow of bygone eras. A choice lay before me, a choice that transcended time itself. With a sense of purpose, I rose from the sand, the weight of the bottle in my hand a reassuring anchor in the shifting reality. The enigmatic tale of the other Sarah, lost to the storm of 1922, beckoned for resolution, a narrative waiting to be rewritten. Approaching the water's edge, the gentle embrace of the waves washing over my feet, I felt a presence, a fleeting glimpse of a figure in the distance. A woman in antiquated attire, collecting shells in a box adorned with delicate butterflies, vanished as quickly as she appeared, leaving only a whisper in the breeze. Pulling out a notebook from my bag, I turned to a fresh page, the pen poised to inscribe a new chapter. "My dearest Sarah," I wrote with deliberate strokes, the ink mingling with the mist that enveloped me, a silent witness to the unfolding tale. In the distance, a bellboy chimed softly, its ethereal melody transcending time and space. And as the echoes of the past intertwined with the present, I knew that the ocean held secrets beyond my understanding, whispers of a story yet to be told. Story 8. In the heart of my living room, an enigmatic painting held court, a silent observer, shrouded in darkness yet exuding a soothing aura. But on a serene evening, as I sat in contemplative silence, my gaze drifted upwards, and a peculiar realization dawned upon me. The man within the portrait, frozen in time, was now wearing a subtle smile. A smile so delicate, it seemed to have materialized out of thin air. Rather than unsettling me, this unexpected change felt like stumbling upon a hidden treasure left behind by a benevolent spirit. The soft glow of the lamplight caressed the canvas, causing the oil paints to dance in a mesmerizing display of shimmering colors. This portrait had been a part of my life for as long as I could remember, a legacy passed down from my grandmother's estate. The figure depicted was a gentleman of the Victorian era, his countenance exuding a quiet dignity that hinted at a life rich with memories. I recalled the first time I laid hands on the ornate golden frame, tracing the intricate patterns etched into the wood with a sense of reverence. The scent of aged varnish and ancient wood evoked memories of childhood visits to my grandmother's house, tranquil moments punctuated by the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock and the gentle rustle of lace curtains in the breeze. As raindrops whispered softly against the window panes, I found myself drawn deeper into the portrait's mysterious allure. The man's eyes seemed to hold a newfound warmth, a depth of emotion that had eluded me before. His smile, though subtle, conveyed a sense of knowing, as if he harbored a secret too precious to reveal just yet. Pouring myself a cup of chamomile tea, the steam curling upwards like wisps of silken threads, I settled back into my reading nook. Each time my gaze returned to the portrait, I noticed subtle shifts in his posture. A hand that had once rested on a leather-bound book now lay flat against the dark wooden table by his side, a minuscule change that tugged at the edges of my perception. The soft cadence of my wall clock marked the passage of time as I watched the portrait with rapt attention. Every glance revealed a new detail, a subtle alteration that unfolded like a silent conversation between two souls. There was no hint of malevolence, no shadow of fear, only a quiet metamorphosis, akin to a flower unfurling its petals at the break of dawn. The portrait seemed to be whispering secrets to me, one gentle moment at a time. As the night deepened, a hush descended upon my living room, enveloping me in a cocoon of tranquility. The rain's melody grew more pronounced, a gentle lullaby that harmonized with the dance of shadows cast by my reading lamp. It was as though the very fabric of reality had softened, allowing for a subtle interplay of light and darkness to unfold before my eyes. Lost in a reverie, I found myself sharing my innermost thoughts with the portrait, feeling a strange kinship with the silent figure before me. His expression remained serene, his eyes wells of ancient wisdom that transcended the confines of the canvas. As the midnight hour chimed from the corner clock, resonating through the room like a siren's call, I rose to retire for the night. And there, in the final moments before slumber claimed me, I beheld one last transformation within the portrait. The once obscure background now hinted at a faint outline of a doorway, a portal to realms unknown and unseen. It lingered on the edge of perception, like a half-remembered dream fading with the dawn, yet I knew it had not existed in that form before. Drifting into the realm of dreams, I pondered the portrait's silent evolution. Was it weaving tales for my ears alone, each subtle change a chapter in an unseen narrative? Or perhaps it served as a mirror, reflecting back to me the ever-shifting nature of perception, like shadows morphing in the twilight hours. To this day, the portrait continues its quiet dance of transformation, a subtle symphony of changes that defy explanation. Sometimes I catch glimpses of it in mid-metamorphosis, like a cloud reshaping itself in the breeze. Other times, the alterations are so fleeting, I question if they occurred at all. Yet amidst this enigmatic display, a sense of tranquil communication lingers, as if the painting itself is a vessel for stories told in the language of light and shadow. The gentleman in the portrait remains steadfast, a silent sentinel in a world of whispers. Though he never speaks, never moves in my direct gaze, there exists a profound connection that transcends the boundaries of spoken language. His presence is a balm, a reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be unraveled, but rather embraced, experienced in the gentle unfolding of time. And so the portrait continues its silent vigil, a beacon of quiet transformation that whispers of secrets untold, waiting to be discovered in the hushed moments between heartbeats. Story 9. The day was drawing to a close, and I decided to snap a selfie to capture the essence of the moment, the sun dipping below the horizon behind me. Later, as I gazed at the photo, a peculiar detail caught my eye. In the background, amidst the shadows, a figure stood, a presence that had eluded me when I clicked the picture. The memory of that evening remains etched in my mind with crystal clarity. The air was heavy with the sweet fragrance of autumn leaves, and a gentle breeze carried the faint tinkling of wind chimes from afar. Strolling through my beloved park, I observed the golden light filtering through the trees, casting elongated shadows over the weathered wooden benches and meandering pathways. The temperature had dipped slightly, prompting me to snugly wrap my cardigan around my shoulders. The park was hushed, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the soft crunch of gravel beneath my feet. This twilight hour, suspended between light and darkness, held a sense of anticipation, as if the world paused to catch its breath before night descended. Finding a serene spot near an ancient stone wall cloaked in ivy, I marveled at the sky painted in hues of amber and rose by the setting sun. Eager to preserve this tranquil moment, I raised my phone, adjusted my stance for the perfect shot, and smiled as the camera clicked softly. That night, seated in my dimly lit living room with a cup of chamomile tea, I scrolled through the snapshots from my walk. The gentle patter of rain against the windows provided a soothing soundtrack to my evening routine. When I reached the selfie, my finger hesitated above the screen. There, nestled between two trees, stood the enigmatic figure I had missed earlier. Initially, I tried to rationalize their presence. Could it have been another park goer I somehow overlooked, despite my recollection of solitude? Perhaps a play of light and shadow, my mind weaving illusions in the stillness. Yet upon zooming in, the figure materialized more distinctly. Clad in antiquated attire, the fabric rippling faintly despite the motionless evening captured in the image. Their features obscured by shadow, yet their posture seemed to imply a direct gaze towards me. Their placement within the frame felt intentional, as if they belonged there. What unnerved me wasn't their sudden appearance, but the feeling that they completed a puzzle I hadn't realized was missing a piece. In the ensuing days, I found myself revisiting the photo repeatedly. Each viewing unveiled new subtleties. The figure's outline slightly blurred compared to the crisp clarity of the surroundings, the depth of shadows around them surpassing natural light, their subtle ability to draw focus despite being in the background. I began taking more photos at sunset in the park. Each evening I scrutinized the images, seeking any trace of my mysterious companion. Yet, they never reappeared. The park remained tranquil, picturesque, and devoid of any peculiarities in subsequent snapshots. Sometimes now, when I wander alone at dusk, I sense a delicate shift in the atmosphere, as if someone has just passed by. This sensation evokes memories of that evening, of the figure in my photo straddling the border between reality and shadow. I continue to carry my phone, snapping pictures, but now I pay closer attention to the quiet spaces in the backdrop, to the junctures where light and darkness converge. What captivates me isn't the fear that could easily take hold, but the inexplicable serenity that settled within me since that day. The figure in the photo never exuded menace. Instead, their presence hinted at the notion that reality harbors more layers than we typically perceive. And in certain instances, when the light falls just so and the world falls silent, these layers may briefly align. I retain the photo, though I seldom share it. Some experiences are best preserved in that serene realm between certainty and curiosity, akin to the final rays of sunlight lingering on the horizon before night descends. And sometimes as sleep beckons, I ponder if, in another person's photograph, I might appear as an unexpected figure in the background, a mysterious presence captured between two moments, existing in a state of wonder. Story 10. The hush of the night was broken by a far-off gentle tune. Settled in my cherished armchair, a woolen throw resting on my lap, and a cup of chamomile tea, now tepid, perched on the side table beside me, I glanced up from the tome in my hands. The melody drifted through the air like snowflakes, almost imperceptible yet undeniably present. It was a piano, no doubt, playing a tune that eluded recognition but felt familiar, akin to a dim recollection of a lost dream. The house enveloped in darkness, bathed solely in the glow of the small lamp by the armchair, casting a circle of soft light around me. Shadows waltzed on the walls in sync with the enigmatic music. Rising slowly, the throw slipped to the floor with a gentle rustle as I treaded on the wooden floor, producing faint creaks on my way to the living room window. Beyond, the night lay tranquil and quiet. The full moon bathed the garden in its silvery sheen, unveiling the outlines of trees swaying gently in the nocturnal breeze. No signs of life in the neighboring abodes, all cloaked in darkness. Yet the music persisted, seeming to emanate from every direction and nowhere simultaneously. Venturing through the abode from one room to another, questing for the origin of that melody that morphed subtly as I moved. In the kitchen, it appeared to drift from the living room. In the living room, it seemed to stem from the stairwell. On the stairs, the sound appeared to descend from the upper level. A hypnotic interplay of echoes and reverberations that led me in a silent ballet through the familiar spaces of my dwelling. Upon reaching my bedroom upstairs, I discerned the door slightly ajar, despite my certainty of leaving it open that morning. Moonlight filtered through the sheer curtains, casting intricate designs on the floor. The music now clearer, more distinct, as if I neared its wellspring. Pausing at the threshold, I scrutinized the room meticulously. My aged music box, a keepsake from my grandmother placed on the nightstand, gleamed in the faint light. Never had I opened it all these years, convinced of its disrepair. Yet now, in the stillness of the night, its petite ballerina pirouetted slowly, casting her dancing shadow on the wall. The melody she played mirrored the one that had beckoned me there, but heightened, as though the entire house had become an echo chamber. Advancing cautiously, my heart beating in time with the music box seemed to radiate a peculiar glow. When I extended my hand to touch it, I noticed the surface was tepid, almost warm. The ballerina continued her dance, but her visage, once a simple porcelain oval in my memory, now bore distinct features. Features I recognized. It was my grandmother's visage, flawlessly replicated in miniature, wearing that same tender smile from my youth. The miniature figure's eyes met mine fleetingly, and in that instant, the melody altered subtly, morphing into a lullaby she sang to me in childhood. Frozen in place, the music enveloped me like a familiar embrace. Fear was absent, replaced by a profound sense of tranquility and wistfulness. The notes filled the room until gradually diminishing in intensity, akin to waves receding from the shore. As the music faded, the music box shuddered with a soft click. Silence once more reigned in the house, but a different kind, laden with significance. Descending to my armchair downstairs, retrieving the throw from the floor and enfolding myself in its warmth once more, the book still open to the page I had been perusing, my mind could not focus on the words. Instead, my musings fixated on the music box and my grandmother. How many melodies had lain trapped in those silent gears all these years, awaiting the opportune moment for release? Since that night, sporadically, when the house is exceptionally still and the full moon bathes the garden, a sweet familiar melody fills the rooms. I no longer seek its source. I simply shut my eyes and listen, understanding that some mysteries need not be unraveled to be comprehended. Story 11. The gentle rain outside whispered against the windows, creating a soothing cadence in the cozy living room. My faithful dog, nestled at my feet, suddenly tensed. His ears perked up, his gaze fixed on the distant corner of the room. A soft growl emanated from his throat. Intrigued, I followed his line of sight, but found nothing amiss. Initially, I dismissed it as one of Max's peculiar habits. He had always been attuned to sounds beyond my reach, the faint meows of the neighbor's cat, distant footfalls, or the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Yet this was different. Every evening, at the same precise hour, he would focus intently on that corner, where the old wooden bookshelf met the wall beneath the vintage reading lamp. The corner itself seemed unassuming, draped in gentle shadows cast by the lamp's warm glow. The mahogany bookshelf housed my collection of beloved novels, their spines creating a familiar tapestry of colors and textures. A delicate pottery vase adorned the lowest shelf, holding dried lavender that wafted a subtle, calming scent through the air. As days turned into weeks, subtle shifts in that corner caught my attention. The temperature would subtly drop, despite the absence of any draft from the nearby window. The fragrance of lavender would briefly intensify before fading once more. The lamplight would flicker, so delicately that I questioned my own perception. Max's behavior grew increasingly curious. He would venture over to the corner during the day, nose twitching, tail swaying in hesitant motions. Occasionally, he would bring his cherished toy, a weathered tennis ball, and place it gingerly at the edge of the bookshelf. By morning, the ball would have shifted ever so slightly, as if nudged by unseen hands. I found myself drawn to my reading chair near that corner, enveloped in a soft blanket, accompanied by the gentle tick-tock of the grandfather clock and the rhythmic patter of rain on the windows. The atmosphere felt distinct there, not menacing, but imbued with an enigmatic presence. It was akin to the sensation of someone quietly reading over your shoulder, yet warmer, more intimate. On a particularly tranquil evening, as I sat engrossed in a book with Max at my side, I observed the pages turning on their own accord, not in abrupt movements, but with the delicate precision of a devoted reader. The lamplight ebbed and flowed in a comforting rhythm, reminiscent of tranquil breaths. Max lifted his head, and instead of growling, he wagged his tail slowly, his gaze gentle and serene. In that moment, a memory stirred within me. This had been my grandmother's cherished reading nook. Here she would spend hours regaling me with tales, the lamp casting a warm glow on her silver locks. Though she had departed this house a decade ago, her essence lingered in the subtle details, the lavender she adored drying, the books she had amassed over the years, the lamp from her childhood home. Now each evening, Max and I find ourselves near that corner. Sometimes I read aloud, my voice blending with the soothing rain and the faint creaks of the old house. The temperature still dips, the lavender continues to release its calming aroma, and the lamp maintains its gentle play of light and shadow. Max no longer growls. Instead, he greets the space with a wag of his tail, as if welcoming an old friend. I have grown accustomed to our peculiar corner, with its mysterious occurrences and unexplained warmth. While some may find it disconcerting, a space where the boundary between past and present seems to blur, I have come to understand. Not all mysteries are to be feared. Sometimes they are simply memories finding their way back, choosing to linger in the places where love once resided, and perhaps, in a subtle manner, still does. Story 12. In a quaint, snug apartment, the walls painted a soothing cream hue, and the old wooden floors softly creaking beneath my feet, a sense of ease envelops me. As I prepared to extinguish the light for the night, a peculiar sight caught my eye. The wardrobe door, usually shut tight, was slightly ajar, a perplexing discovery, for I distinctly remembered closing it before retiring to bed. That night marked the beginning of a curious pattern that unfolded over the following weeks. Each evening, without fail, I made a point to firmly shut the wardrobe door, sometimes even verifying the latch twice over. Yet, as the night deepened and slumber embraced me, I would awaken to find the door ajar once more, just a crack. Initially, I brushed it off as a figment of my imagination, or perhaps a draft from the aging heating system. The gentle whisper of air through the vents could easily nudge a door not securely fastened. However, subtle changes began to reveal themselves, casting doubt on my initial explanations. In the hushed hours between midnight and dawn, I would catch faint sounds emanating from within the wardrobe. These were not menacing noises, but rather akin to the soft rustle of fabric or the gentle murmur of autumn leaves caressing a window pane. It bore a musical quality in its gentleness, a lullaby woven from sighs and silk. My garments remained undisturbed, hanging in pristine order as I had left them. Yet occasionally, upon opening the door in the morning, a new scent would greet me. A fragrance reminiscent of rain-kissed gardens and distant memories of my grandmother's abode. A blend of lavender and an elusive, ancient aroma. I found myself sitting up at night, gazing at the wardrobe, bathed in the ethereal glow of the moonlight filtering through my drapes. The shadows danced, playing tricks on my eyes, deepening the darkness within the wardrobe beyond its physical confines, creating an illusion of vastness. At times I fancied catching movements within that darkness, akin to ripples on a tranquil midnight pond. One particularly serene night, a subtle, almost imperceptible glow seeped from beneath the door, not the harsh blue of electronics or the golden hue of street lamps, but a silver light akin to starlight, ancient and tenderly warm. It pulsed softly, in harmony with the rhythm of my breath, resembling a heartbeat. I began leaving small trinkets near the wardrobe, a flower plucked from my morning stroll, a feather discovered on my windowsill, a polished stone that caught my eye. Each morning, they would be rearranged, positioned with such deliberate precision that it could not be deemed accidental. Once, I left a blank sheet of paper, only to find it adorned with frost-like patterns at daybreak, intricate swirls vanishing as the sun ascended. Strangely, fear did not grip me. There was a peculiar solace in these nightly occurrences. It felt as though the wardrobe harbored a gentle secret, an ancient and wise presence choosing to coexist within my living quarters. The melodies and fragrances that emerged became a familiar lullaby, guiding me into a more profound, restful slumber than I had ever experienced. Alongside these nocturnal revelations, other transformations unfurled in my life. My dreams grew more vivid, brimming with visions of boundless libraries with endless shelves, gardens blooming under starlight, and doors leading to impossible realms. Upon awakening, I bore a sense of rejuvenation, carrying remnants of these dreams like precious gems in my pocket. At times I pondered whether the wardrobe was more than a mere gateway, perhaps a guardian of sorts, keeping vigil over my nights. Rather than evoking apprehension, this notion brought solace. Is there not a touch of magic in acknowledging that mysteries still dwell in our world, even within our most intimate spaces? I shared this revelation with no one, as few graced my apartment with their presence nowadays. It felt like an intimate understanding between myself and a gentle entity that shared my nights. In the company of others, the wardrobe remained firmly sealed, its enigmas safeguarded like a cherished secret. Recently, before retiring for the night, I penned a small note of gratitude. Come morning, it had been replaced by a lone flower of an unfamiliar variety, petals akin to moonlight with a fragrance evoking childhood reveries. I preserved it within the pages of my journal, a memento of this enchanting and enigmatic phenomenon that had woven itself into my existence. Each night, I dutifully shut the wardrobe door, knowing it would yield to a crack before dawn. Yet now, a smile graces my lips as I do so, as if sharing a clandestine pact with an old confidant. Some may deem it haunting, yet I prefer to view it as an act of selection, chosen to partake in something marvelous and incomprehensible, a reminder that reality harbors more enchantment than we fathom. And so I continue my nightly ritual, aware that as I drift into slumber, the door will yield to a crack, welcoming whatever gentle magic desires to visit. Amidst a world that often seems too clamorous and definitive, there lies comfort in possessing a mystery that whispers rather than clamors, that inspires wonder instead of fear. Story 13. The weariness of a long day lingered as I entered my study. The warm glow of the desk lamp painted the room in soft shadows, the shelves adorned with rows of well-loved books. The familiar scent of aged paper and ink enveloped me, a comforting presence as I settled into my worn leather armchair. Upon the polished wooden desk lay my old diary, a cherished heirloom from my grandmother. Its weathered brown cover and yellowed pages held my innermost thoughts. To my surprise, the last page I had penned was now filled with elegant script, not my own. The ink appeared fresh, as if just applied. Intrigued, I leaned in, my breath slowing. The words described the very scene I found myself in, down to the gentle rain tapping on the window pane, creating a soothing melody. The lamplight flickered, casting dancing shadows around me. The prose seemed to anticipate my every move, drawing me in with its mysterious allure. As I read on, the text prompted me to turn the page, and as if under a spell, my hand obeyed. New words materialized before my eyes, as though an invisible hand guided the pen. Every sensation I felt was mirrored in the flowing ink, capturing even the slightest detail. Mesmerized, I rose from my chair, unable to tear my gaze from the unfolding tale. The narrative now described books on the shelves that I didn't recall owning. Yet there they stood, their titles matching the script. Time seemed to stand still as the diary continued its enchanting dance of words. Seated on the couch, I watched as the pages turned on their own, the rain outside intensifying, cocooning me in a world of mystery. The room felt alive, as if the very air held secrets waiting to be unveiled. Closing my eyes, I let the rain's rhythm lull me into a peaceful state. When I opened them, the diary had transformed, delving into my most private memories. Each word felt like a whispered confession, drawing me closer to a past long forgotten. Approaching the desk once more, the diary's words felt like a conversation, a gentle reminder of moments buried deep within. Curiosity mingled with tranquility as the night wore on, each revelation a step towards a profound understanding. As midnight approached, I realized hours had slipped by in silent communion with the diary. The final message appeared: some mysteries don't need solving to be understood. Closing the diary, I felt the weight of its leather cover, the rain outside now a soothing backdrop. I wondered if the words would remain come morning or fade like a dream. Retiring for the night, I stole a parting glance at the study, the diary resting innocently on the desk. Something had shifted within me, a newfound awareness lingering in the air. The night enveloped the room in quiet, the lamp's amber light a silent observer to a mystery left unsolved. Perhaps, as I closed the door, I realized that some mysteries are meant to be embraced, their secrets cherished in the heart. Story 14. The moonlight filtered through the thin curtains, casting dancing shadows on the old wooden floor. I found myself nestled in the embrace of my favorite armchair, enveloped by the serene stillness of the night. As my gaze wandered, it landed upon the ancient mahogany box resting peacefully on the mantelpiece. This box had been a fixture in this house since the days of my grandmother, yet its contents remained a mystery to me, untouched and undisturbed. The glossy surface of the box shimmered softly under the moon's gentle gaze, its intricate carvings seeming to come alive in the dimly lit room. There was a peculiar energy in the air that night, a whisper of secrets long kept hidden. Slowly, I rose from the comfort of my armchair, the wool of my sweater brushing against the fabric with a hushed rustle. Each step I took towards the mantelpiece echoed softly on the creaking wooden floor, as if the house itself was holding its breath in anticipation. The closer I drew to the box, the more palpable the sense of mystery became, a silent veil wrapping around me like a cloak. My fingertips grazed the smooth surface of the mahogany, and to my surprise, it felt warm and alive beneath my touch. The intricate carvings on its exterior told a tale of nature's embrace, with delicate leaves and branches intertwining in a dance of craftsmanship. And then, as if for the first time, I noticed a minuscule detail, a tiny eye hidden amidst the intricate patterns on the lid. As I delved deeper into the box's allure, an ancient scent wafted into the room, a fragrance both familiar and enigmatic. It was a scent that tugged at memories buried deep within me, memories of a woman's gentle smile and whispered secrets. Lost in reverie, I closed my eyes, allowing the scent to transport me to a realm where time held no sway. The whisper of the wind against the window panes snapped me back to reality, my hands trembling ever so slightly against the box's edges. Though there was no visible lock, I knew instinctively that this box had remained unopened through the ages. Or had it? Memories of my childhood in this house seemed to blur and shift, like shadows dancing in the moonlight. Seating myself on the couch, I cradled the box in my hands, its weight lighter than expected, yet harboring a mysterious presence within. A subtle movement stirred within, as though the box held not a tangible object, but a fleeting essence, a memory made manifest. The warmth emanating from it enveloped me, and for a fleeting moment, I felt the gaze of the tiny carved eye upon me. A chill ran down my spine, not of fear but of recognition, akin to meeting a long-lost friend in a dream. In that moment, my grandmother's cryptic words resurfaced in my mind, their meaning slowly dawning on me like the breaking of dawn. "Some questions find answers only when we stop seeking them," she had said, a puzzle piece fitting into place in the silent tableau of the night. The shadows in the room seemed to come alive, mirroring the intricate designs of the box in a silent dance. The scent grew stronger, weaving a tapestry of memories and emotions around me, drawing me deeper into its spell. Did I truly need to uncover the box's secrets? Placing it back on the mantelpiece, the tiny eye seemed to twinkle in silent approval, a silent guardian of mysteries untold. Retreating to my armchair, a sense of tranquility washed over me, a newfound peace settling within my soul. Some enigmas, once understood, do not beckon to be solved, but rather to be cherished, to be kept safe in the silent chambers of the heart. The moonlight bathed the room in its ethereal glow, and the night silence felt pregnant with meaning, with unspoken truths. I closed my eyes, letting the lingering scent of the box weave its gentle lullaby, guiding me towards the shores of slumber. In that liminal space between wakefulness and dreams, a faint sound echoed from the mantelpiece, a sigh, a whisper, a secret shared only with the night. Or perhaps it was simply the wind, whispering tales to the dancing curtains. The box remained there, a silent sentinel of its mysteries, a timeless enigma best left undisturbed. And in that realization, a profound serenity washed over me, cradling me in its gentle embrace as I drifted into the realm of dreams, accompanied by the murmurs of the night and the secrets of the ancient box. Story 15. The house enveloped in a serene hush, only the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of settling wood breaking the stillness. I lay sprawled on the couch, teetering on the edge of slumber, when a soft glow flickered into view. The hallway light blinked to life, casting a warm radiance. A knot tightened in my stomach. Living alone, I knew I hadn't stirred to trigger the sudden illumination. The familiar contours of my dwelling took on a new essence under this unexpected light. The vintage photographs adorning my walls seemed to drink in the glow, their silver frames gleaming with a gentle sheen. The antique grandfather clock, a gift from my parents, maintained its steady cadence, the soft ticks a comforting presence in the quietude. I remained motionless, attuned to the house's subtle rhythms. The heating system murmured through the vents, carrying the familiar scent of warm dust that winter always ushered in. Mr. Whispers, my black feline companion, lay nestled on the windowsill, his fur outlined by the moon's soft glow. Unusually still, he hadn't even flicked an ear, a behavior out of character for him. The hallway light exuded a golden hue, softer and more inviting than before. It evoked memories of summer evenings when the sun bathed everything in honeyed tones before dusk settled in. Yet this light held a different quality. Its shadows moved with a fluid grace, akin to underwater plants swaying in a gentle current. I found myself captivated by these shifting shadows, observing how they deviated from the objects casting them. The sharp angles I expected from the bookshelf shadow were instead replaced by elegant curves along the wall. The table where I kept my keys cast multiple overlapping shadows, each one slightly askew from the rest. The room's temperature began to subtly shift, not in a jarring manner that instilled fear, but in a gradual, almost imperceptible transformation. It reminded me of stepping from shade into sunlight on a spring day, where warm patches caressed my skin like ethereal clouds, followed by cooler breezes carrying the scent of rain-soaked earth. My grandmother used to recount tales of lights and shadows, describing how homes harbored their own consciousness, absorbing the emotions and memories of their inhabitants. Houses retain memories, she'd whisper knowingly. They gather moments just as we collect photographs. As I watched, the light's essence morphed. It pulsed rhythmically, akin to a heartbeat, but at a glacial pace that demanded my stillness to discern. With each pulse, glimpses of something flickered in the hallway mirror, something simultaneously familiar and alien. The reflection depicted my hallway, yet not quite as I knew it. The family photographs on the walls appeared to capture different moments, with faces turned or smiling when they shouldn't be. At last, Mr. Whispers stirred, stretching languidly on his perch. His gaze fixated down the hallway, devoid of alarm. His tail curled contentedly as he beheld something just beyond my sight. The soft rumble of his purr intermingled with the grandfather clock's steady beat. A subtle pattern emerged in the light's pulsing, aligning with my breathing, or perhaps coaxing my breath to synchronize with its gentle cadence. The warm currents continued their languid waltz around me, now carrying hints of vanilla and aged books, my grandmother's signature fragrance. The light gradually dimmed, not abruptly, but in the manner of fading afternoon sun through curtained windows. As it receded, the shadows it left behind retained their fluidity for a moment longer, reaching out towards me with a gentle curiosity, akin to cats extending their paws in contemplation. When darkness blanketed the hallway once more, it felt different. The house enfolded me like a cozy quilt, and I realized fear had no place within me. The grandfather clock chimed softly, announcing the hour, and Mr. Dack Whispers leaped down from his perch to nestle beside me. His purring persisted, a soothing melody in the silence. In the days that ensued, I pondered that night often. I kept my musings to myself, yet I found myself observing the play of light within my abode more closely. Sometimes, in the tranquil hours between midnight and dawn, I glimpsed that same golden glow reflecting in mirrors or gliding across walls. The house retained memories, just as my grandmother professed, and occasionally, in its gentle way, it shared those memories with me. The hallway light never flickered on by itself in that manner again, yet every now and then, as I drifted between wakefulness and slumber, I felt that familiar warmth wash over me, carrying the essence of vanilla and musty books. In those fleeting moments, I comprehended my grandmother's wisdom about homes harboring moments. Some mysteries are not meant to be unraveled, but rather embraced, like the soft pulse of light in darkness or the faint touch of a memory just beyond reach. Story 16. Silence draped the narrow streets of the quaint hillside town like a velvety shroud. It was an autumn evening, saturated with the scent of crackling wood fires and moistened leaves, as a mist slithered through the labyrinthine alleyways like a silent phantom. Peering out from my cozy third-floor apartment, I observed the windows of the neighboring houses, each aglow with a comforting amber light. Despite the lateness of the hour, an eerie stillness pervaded, with no signs of life visible beyond the fogged panes. The distant toll of the church bell marked 10 o'clock, its resonance oddly hollow, as if muffled by unseen hands. Though I had only recently arrived in this enigmatic town 3 weeks prior, never had I witnessed such a profound emptiness in its nocturnal streets. Normally, even at this late hour, a solitary figure would amble with their faithful hound, or the local youths would linger outside the corner pub, their laughter mingling with tendrils of cigarette smoke under the flickering street lamp. Seated in my favorite armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea between my palms, I noted the absence of the usual stray cat that prowled Mrs. Miller's windowsill. Wisps of steam spiraled upwards from the cup, pirouetting through the air before dissolving into the room's obsidian depths. Opting to keep only a modest reading lamp aglow, its soft illumination casting gentle shadows upon the cream-hued walls, a sudden noise seized my attention. A rustling, faint yet persistent, emanated from the corridor leading to the bedroom. Intrigued rather than fearful, I rose from my seat, gingerly setting down the cup upon the wooden side table beside me. With cautious steps, I ventured towards the hallway, sensing a chill that had descended, not of wintry severity, but of a coolness reminiscent of ancient stone walls in a forgotten cathedral. The floorboards murmured underfoot, a familiar sound that offered a peculiar comfort as I approached the threshold of the bedroom. Pausing, I beheld the partially open door, from which spilled an ethereal bluish light unlike any other within my abode. Pushing the door ajar, it groaned softly on its hinges. The window remained shut, yet the curtain undulated as if stirred by a phantom breath. Nestled upon the floor beneath the window was a solitary sheet of paper. Bending to retrieve it, I discovered it to be a weathered newspaper page, its masthead bearing the date October 15, 1954. The headline seized my attention: Mysterious Night of Silence in Pine Grove. The article recounted a peculiar night when the town's denizens had retreated into their homes, as though bound by an unspoken pact of collective withdrawal, the origins of which had faded into oblivion. Engrossed in the text, a movement beyond the window captivated my gaze. Across the street, the lights in the houses flickered and faded in succession, resembling candles extinguished by an unseen hand. Behind the darkened panes, motionless silhouettes loomed, their gaze seemingly fixed upon the deserted street. A vibration in my robe's pocket heralded a message from the building's group chat. Tonight, remain indoors. It is imperative. Peering out once more, I noted that all lights had now been snuffed out, except for my own solitary beacon. Amidst the deepening silence, I discerned the gradual deceleration of my own heartbeat, as though harmonizing with a primordial rhythm beyond mortal comprehension. Perching on the edge of the bed, the newspaper sheet still clasped in my hand, I marveled at its remarkable softness, as though imbued with the echoes of countless hands that had once held it. Beyond the window, the mist had thickened, enveloping the streetlights in a luminous haze. Surveying the town's main thoroughfare from my elevated vantage point, I pondered the enigmatic events detailed in the article, wherein witnesses had attested that the morning following the silent night, all recollection had been erased, consigned to the nebulous realms of forgotten memory. Rising slowly, I advanced towards the light switch. Pausing before extinguishing the glow, I cast a final glance outside. The mist had assumed sinuous forms, wraith-like and undulating, within which phantom figures seemed to cavort, their movements as fluid as shadows adrift upon a milky sea. With the room plunged into darkness, I reclined upon the bed, fully clothed, the silence now absolute save for the metronomic ticking of the bedside clock. As slumber enveloped me in its tranquil embrace, a lingering question fluttered through my mind. Would the morrow find me recalling this peculiar night, or would I, like the town's inhabitants of yore, remain oblivious to the cyclical mystery that enshrouded our lives? The final echo that resonated in my consciousness before succumbing to sleep was the distant tolling of midnight bells, their chime faint and spectral, as though emanating from a realm where silence reigned as the universal language of existence. Story 17. The realtor had described the house as small yet cozy, a haven for serenity. Room by room I wandered, exploring the nooks and crannies. But at the end of the corridor, a door caught my eye, a door unseen during the initial tour. My hand paused on the knob before turning it slowly. Inside, the air hung heavy, thick with neglect, the floor cloaked in a layer of dust undisturbed for years. Soft autumnal light seeped through a lone window, casting delicate shadows over what seemed to be an ancient study. A weathered wooden desk nestled against one wall, its surface weathered by time. The wood's grain danced in hypnotic patterns as the dim light enveloped the room. An enigmatic aroma lingered, not unpleasant, evoking memories of aged books and withered flowers. Intrigued, I gravitated towards the desk, my footsteps muffled by the lush carpet beneath. Faint wind chimes' melody drifted through the walls, a tranquil tune from a forgotten era. Tracing my fingers along the desk's edge, I discovered intricate indentations, symbols etched with care, forming an unbroken design. Smooth to the touch, worn by years of hands retracing the same path. Each evening, drawn back to this room, I brought in a worn leather chair unearthed from the basement. There, as daylight surrendered to dusk, I would sit. Time in this room bore a different cadence, unhurried, contemplative. Sometimes with a book in hand, other times just absorbing the whispers of the settling house. One hushed evening, rain tapping gently at the window, I noticed a peculiarity about the desk drawer. Always locked before, it now sat slightly ajar, beckoning exploration. Within, a leather-bound journal lay, its pages adorned with elegant script, entries dated, yet curiously spanning years, even decades apart. The script remained consistent, untouched by the passage of time. The author detailed the room as a liminal space, where time flowed like honey, slow and sweet. Seasons observed through the window, conversations with elusive guests, unique to this room alone. The entries exuded tranquility, contemplation, filled with musings on light and shadow, on the silence that felt palpable. Weeks passed, and subtle shifts unfolded within the room. Dust refused to settle, light defying the outside world's time. During a storm, while the house groaned and protested, this room remained an oasis of stillness, cradled in tranquility. The journal's musings began to make sense. I started documenting my own observations, intertwining them with the mysterious writer's tales. Sometimes returning to previous entries, I found them altered, words rearranged, dates blurred. Yet, rather than unsettle, it felt harmonious, as if the room itself gently wove our shared narrative. The window captivated me most. From outside, a solid wall. Inside, a window offering views that shifted when unobserved. The garden beyond mirrored the one at the rear, yet with subtle discrepancies, blossoms out of season, trees casting curious shadows. The room remained my secret, unshared with realtors or guests. A sanctum, intimate and personal, existing for those who sought solace within. Original floor plans unveiled no trace, as though this room materialized for those craving a sanctuary where time ebbed differently, thoughts unfurled at their own pace. Now, as I pen this recollection, I ponder the others who stumbled upon this room, adding to its enigmatic aura of tranquil enigma. The journal hinted at predecessors, and I sense successors will follow. The room feels like a whispered secret, whispered through generations of quiet seekers. The sun dips low now, or so the light through the window suggests. Time, as displayed on my watch, loses relevance within these walls. Perhaps that's the room's essence, a haven where the relentless march of minutes fades into a softer, forgiving rhythm. Not everything about this room is clear to me, this space existing within yet apart from the house. But I've come to cherish that some mysteries are meant to be embraced, to be lived amidst. In a world racing forward, perhaps we all yearn for a room off the blueprint, a space where time bends and stretches, dust never settles, and the light through an impossible window beckons us to simply exist. Story 18. In the soft, warm glow of my bedside lamp, the hallway outside remained shrouded in darkness. I lay still, my gaze fixed on the faint sliver of light peeking from beneath my bedroom door. A shadow glided past, moving with deliberate grace. My breath hitched in my throat, a silent gasp escaping me. No sound accompanied the shadow's passage, no hint of footsteps on the old creaking floorboards. Summoning my courage, I ventured to investigate, only to find the hallway deserted. That encounter unfolded 3 weeks ago, and ever since, the shadow has become a nightly visitor, a silent companion in the depths of darkness. Its presence now feels almost comforting, though the mystery remains unsolved. The aged wooden floors of my dwelling sing their nocturnal lullaby of soft creaks and whispers, yet the shadow moves in eerie silence, defying the house's natural symphony. Tonight, as raindrops tap gently against my window and the wind murmurs through the trees, I find myself anticipating its arrival once more. The warm, inviting light of my bedside lamp creates a cozy haven, casting shadows that dance in the periphery, enhancing the mystery of the night. The scent of lavender mingles with the earthy aroma of petrichor seeping in through the cracked window, enveloping me in a soothing embrace. A ritual has evolved around these nightly encounters. I brew chamomile tea, letting its floral fragrance permeate the air as I nestle into bed with a book in hand. The shadow materializes between the turning of pages, its appearance timed with uncanny precision, drawing my gaze to the door's threshold. Sometimes it lingers, a fleeting specter. Other times it glides by like a whisper in the breeze. What captivates me most is how the shadow seems attuned to my innermost thoughts. In moments of anxiety, it moves languidly, as if offering solace. When tranquility reigns, it drifts past effortlessly, akin to a leaf carried by autumn winds. Despite the enigma it presents, I never feel threatened by its presence. Recollections of my grandmother's tales resurface, stories of houses imbued with consciousness, absorbing the essence of their inhabitants. Could this shadow be the house's silent sentinel, ensuring my well-being as I straddle the realms of waking and slumber? Night transforms the familiar abode. Moonlight bathes the wooden banister in a soft glow, filtering through the skylight above. The grandfather clock in the hall below ticks with a steady rhythm, its echoes reverberating through the hushed chambers. The nocturnal air hangs heavy with anticipation, pregnant with untold narratives. This night, a subtle shift disrupts our customary interaction. The shadow, typically transient, halts in its passage beneath my door. Minutes slip by, marked by the gentle ticking of my bedside clock. The shadow remains unmoving, a silent sentinel in the dark. Driven by an inexplicable impulse, I break the silence. "Hello," I murmur, my voice a mere breath in the stillness. The shadow stirs, a subtle shift that hints at acknowledgement, a silent greeting from an ancient acquaintance. The room's atmosphere warms, enfolding me in a cocoon of comfort. The scented candle flickers without a breeze, casting a soft glow that defies conventional explanation. Countless volumes on the supernatural offer no parallel to this tranquil coexistence. No chilling drafts, no ominous foreboding, no spectral inscriptions or objects in motion. Only this quiet presence, this shadow that stands vigil over my nights. I muse on the possibility that the shadow has long dwelled here, unnoticed until now. Perhaps it witnessed the passage of previous occupants, a silent witness to the ebb and flow of generations within these walls. Could it have awaited acknowledgement, yearning to be recognized as an integral part of the house's essence? As I lie here, observing the shadow dissipate like morning mist, a profound serenity settles within me. Rain continues its gentle serenade on the window pane, while the house sighs and settles around me, a living entity in its own right. I understand that come tomorrow night and every night thereafter, my enigmatic companion will return. By day, I go about my routine, yet a part of me awaits the twilight hour, craving that moment of communion with the nocturnal denizen of my hallway. I have ceased attempting to rationalize this phenomenon to others. How does one articulate a presence that offers solace rather than fear, enigma rather than dread? The shadow has seamlessly integrated into my nightly rituals, alongside chamomile tea and bedtime reading. As drowsiness tugs at my consciousness, I fixate on the sliver of light beneath the door. The shadow glides past one final time, its movement as ethereal as a dream. With newfound understanding, I embrace the enigmatic nature of this dwelling. In the hushed interlude between midnight and dawn, not everything demands elucidation. And so I succumb to sleep, cradled by the nocturnal symphony of my abode, secure in the knowledge that my mysterious guardian shall return, a silent sentinel in the deepest throes of night. Story 19. In the antique shop, the scent of aged paper and weathered wood enveloped me like a familiar embrace. Tracing my fingertips over the dust-laden spines of forgotten books, I meandered through the shelves in a trance-like state. Amidst the collection, one book stood out to me, its cracked leather cover beckoning me closer. Opening it sent a shiver down my spine, for there on the first page was my name, inscribed in a script foreign to my eyes. Beyond the shop's windows, raindrops danced a delicate ballet, their pitter-patter forming a hypnotic melody that synchronized with the rhythm of my racing heart. Each footstep on the creaking wooden floor seemed to echo a secret from the past as I gravitated towards a well-loved leather armchair bathed in the soft glow of a reading lamp. Nestling into its comforting embrace, I felt a sense of belonging wash over me. The diary I held radiated an unexpected warmth, as though it had been awaiting my arrival all along. Tracing my fingers over the faded ink, I noticed how some letters melded seamlessly into the yellowed pages, as if whispering untold stories. The entries, dated decades ago, bore a striking resemblance to my own handwriting, the curves, the slant, hauntingly familiar. The author's musings spoke of a world where memories wove in and out of time, like shadows flitting through unseen doorways. Outside, the rain's gentle murmur evolved into a continuous lullaby, each droplet carrying a fragment of the narrative, blurring the lines between past and present. The room's temperature, perfectly balanced, cocooned me in a blanket of tranquility that urged me to delve deeper into the diary's enigmatic pages. Within those weathered confines, tales unfolded of inexplicable occurrences where reality folded upon itself in inexplicable ways. Footsteps in empty rooms, elusive reflections, and intangible presences painted a portrait of a world where the known intertwined with the unknown. The author's revelation that time is not a linear path, but a tapestry of intricate threads resonated deeply within me, stirring a sense of wonder rather than fear. As I journeyed through each page, the rain outside transformed into a symphony, harmonizing with the rustle of paper and the soft glow of the lamp. The golden hue cast upon the pages seemed to illuminate the very essence of the diary's essence, as if the light itself was a character in the unfolding tale. Family ties that transcended generations, shared memories flowing like rivers across time, and faces recognized from forgotten dreams all wove a narrative of interconnectedness that surpassed conventional understanding. The diary's wisdom whispered of unseen threads binding lives together in a vast, intricate tapestry, waiting to be unraveled by those willing to seek. With evening's descent, shadows crept among the bookshelves, weaving a veil of mystery that cloaked the room in a comforting embrace. The rain's gentle serenade persisted, a constant companion in the twilight hours. The diary's final entries delved into the realm of dreams and perceptions, blurring the lines between reality and imagination, hinting at a world far more malleable than perceived. Hours slipped by unnoticed as I immersed myself in the diary's revelations, a sense of peace settling over me like a soft veil. The leather cover felt alive in my hands, pulsating with the essence of bygone moments and untold stories. Embraced by the darkness and the rain's soothing cadence, I closed the diary, content to dwell in the mysteries left unsolved. Some enigmas are meant to be felt, not deciphered, and some tales are meant to lead us into realms of introspection and tranquility. The diary remained a conduit between the known and the unknown, a beacon guiding me into the beautiful ambiguity of existence, where mysteries whispered and tranquility reigned supreme. Story 20. The soft crackling of the fireplace enveloped the room in a blanket of cozy warmth, lulling me into a state of relaxation. My hand moved in gentle strokes over my dog's velvety fur as he nestled close, his eyes drifting to half-closed in contentment. Yet as if stirred from a dream, he suddenly stiffened, his ears perking up and his breath becoming heavy. With a leap, he sprang up and began to bark, fixated on a shadowy corner of the room. Initially, I dismissed his behavior as mere canine sensitivity to sounds. Max had always been attuned to the slightest noises, a rustling leaf, a scurrying mouse, but this time felt different. His bark held a note of uncertainty, almost as if questioning the darkness before him. The flickering flames of the fire painted playful shadows on the walls, drawing my gaze to that mysterious corner. In that dimly lit space stood an antique bookshelf, its weathered wooden frame bearing the weight of time. Rows of books, untouched and gathering dust, lined its shelves in silent vigil. Nothing seemed amiss, yet Max's unwavering stare and peculiar barks hinted at something unseen. A subtle chill crept into the room, a whisper of winter in the midst of the fire's embrace. Wrapping my blanket tighter around me, I observed as Max tentatively approached the corner, his tail held low but not tucked in fear. This nightly ritual unfolded before me. As dusk settled and I found solace in my armchair, Max would inevitably direct his attention to that enigmatic spot. Sometimes he would observe silently, his body poised in anticipation. Other times he would emit soft, questioning barks, attempting to communicate with a presence beyond my perception. Gradually, I began to notice subtle shifts in the room. Books would mysteriously change places overnight, despite my solitary dwelling. The temperature would fluctuate without reason, and faint scents of aged parchment and morning dew would briefly perfume the air. My logical mind sought explanations in settling structures and drafts, yet the inexplicable persisted in the quiet hours. One evening, bathed in the glow of lamplight, I heard Max's familiar bark of warning. Raising my gaze, I beheld an extraordinary sight. Dust particles, suspended in the air near the bookshelf, moved against the natural currents, twirling in deliberate patterns. They danced and swirled, almost forming letters before dispersing into the ether. Max whimpered softly, seeking solace in my presence, his stance protective yet inquisitive. Running my fingers through his fur, grounding myself in his warmth, I embarked on documenting these peculiar occurrences. Recording the timings, temperature shifts, and Max's varied responses, I discerned patterns slowly emerging, like shadows cast by a hidden moon. The phenomena seemed heightened during the waning lunar phases or gentle rain showers. The displaced books always hailed from the same shelf, housing ancient volumes of poetry and folklore that had long resided in the house. In the threshold between wakefulness and slumber, I glimpsed ephemeral visions of what Max perceived. The corner appeared to stretch infinitely, its shadows possessing a fluidity that hinted at a hidden vitality. Yet, whenever I tried to focus directly on these spectral manifestations, they eluded my grasp like elusive water slipping through my fingers. There existed no sense of threat from the unseen presence sharing our space. Instead, a gentle curiosity pervaded, as if Max, myself, and our spectral visitor engaged in a delicate dance of exploration. The enigma evolved into a comforting familiarity, akin to an old, well-loved sweater that wraps you in warmth on chilly nights. Presently, as I pen these words by the flickering firelight, Max rests at my feet, occasionally lifting his head to regard our enigmatic corner. The ancient bookshelf stands silent, its shadows concealing secrets that may forever elude comprehension. Yet, I've grown to cherish this peculiar communion with the unknown. Some mysteries, I've come to understand, are not meant to be unraveled, but rather savored, like the soft hues of twilight or the gentle caress of the wind through trees. The fire crackles on, casting its golden glow across the room. Max drifts into a peaceful slumber, his ears twitching sporadically. And in the shadowed corner, as night descends, the darkness deepens, cradling its ancient whispers close. Perhaps true understanding is not always about seeing, but about trusting the intangible sensations that stir within us during those quiet, heartbeat moments. Story 21. The coffee shop buzzed with hushed conversations and the low murmur of the espresso machine. I reached for my phone, idly swiping through my photos until one image halted my scrolling. A picture, unfamiliar to my memory, graced my gallery. It depicted a close-up of my bedroom, taken from the foot of my bed from the night before. The air carried the delicate scent of freshly ground coffee beans as I studied the photograph intently. In the soft glow of my bedside lamp, my room was captured, casting warm shadows on the pale blue walls. The white cotton sheets lay immaculately with corners neatly tucked in, just as I always left them. The wooden floor gleamed subtly, glistening from the recent rain that had crept in through the slightly ajar window, leaving tiny droplets on the sill. Sipping on my lavender tea, its soothing warmth spreading through me, I pondered the mysterious image before me. The metadata revealed the photo was snapped at 3:17 a.m., a time when I was deep in slumber. The angle of the shot was peculiar, as if someone had held the phone at chest height, capturing the entire room in sharp focus. A row of vintage books graced the shelf above my bed, their spines a muted rainbow of colors in the dim light. That evening, a sense of unease lingered in my belly as I returned home. The autumn wind whispered through the trees outside, casting dancing shadows on my walls. Placing my phone on the dresser with its camera facing downwards, I noticed the old wooden floors creaking softly beneath me as I readied for bed. The familiar sounds seemed more pronounced that night. Lying in bed, observing the gentle sway of my curtains in the breeze, I spotted a slight anomaly on my bookshelf. One book, my well-loved copy of The Secret Garden, appeared slightly askew, jutting out more than the rest. The antique clock's ticking marked the passing minutes as I gazed at it, wondering if I had moved it recently. Drifting into a light sleep, I was roused by the gentle sound of rainfall against my window. The clock's display read 3:15 a.m. as the room bathed in a soft blue hue from the moon peeking through the clouds. Listening to the rhythmic pitter-patter of raindrops, I saw my phone screen flash briefly, casting a gentle light across the ceiling. The following morning, with sunlight streaming in and birds chirping outside, I checked my phone. Another photo, taken at 3:17 a.m., displayed my peaceful sleeping form from the same angle as before. However, what drew my attention was the secret garden lying open on my bedside table, its pages ruffled as if recently perused. Night after night, a new photo materialized at precisely 3:17 a.m., Some captured the empty room, while others featured my slumbering figure, all from the same perspective. Each photo was a masterpiece in composition, playing with light and shadow like my mother used to when photographing our home, capturing the unnoticed moments. Small changes began to manifest in my room. Books shifted slightly, the window opened wider, the bedside lamp adjusted to the perfect glow, reminiscent of how my mother arranged it for bedtime stories. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows, I found myself flipping through The Secret Garden. A pressed lavender sprig, my mother's favorite, fell from its pages, the faint scent lingering with the old paper's sweetness. That night, I left my phone facing upwards on the dresser, capturing the soft lamplight. Each morning, a new photo awaited me in my gallery, taken at 3:17 a.m. No longer did I question their appearance. Instead, I anticipated the play of light and shadows in my room while I slumbered, the subtle changes in my sanctuary. Sometimes in the quiet of the night, with the moon's brilliance, a hint of lavender wafted through the air, and I smiled, understanding that love transcends our perceived boundaries. The photos persisted, gentle reminders of the blurred line between the known and unknown worlds. In the tranquil hours of the night, mysteries unfolded in simple ways, bridging the gap between sleep and wakefulness, memory and reality, present and past. In that soft, serene space, through a lens unexplored, moments unfurled, revealing beauty we never knew we needed to witness. Story 22. The bed cocooned me in its soft embrace, the duvet a comforting shield against the night. A faint light seeped through the curtains, casting gentle shadows in the room, while the rhythmic ticking of the clock soothed my mind. Breathing in the scent of freshly laundered sheets, I felt the weight of exhaustion settle upon me. And then, a whisper of sound, barely there, yet undeniably close. It emanated from beneath the bed, a presence stirring in the stillness of the night. I lay motionless, my breath steady, my senses alert. Living alone for years had honed my instincts to question the unknown, but this sound carried a different quality. It was not the usual creak of aging floorboards or the sigh of the wind outside my window. This sound held substance, filling the room with an almost tangible presence that hung in the air like a secret kept between shadows. Despite this intrusion, the bedroom retained its familiar warmth. Shadows danced playfully on the walls, painted by the soft glow of the street lamp. My collection of weathered hardcover books stood sentinel on the shelves, their spines forming a mosaic of muted hues in the dim light. The vintage alarm clock's ticking, usually a lullaby to my restless mind, now felt like a countdown to an unseen revelation. Another sound joined the nocturnal symphony, a gentle inhale not my own, followed by an exhale carrying hints of mint and petrichor, the earthy scent of rain-kissed soil. My fingers curled against the sheets, not in fear, but in contemplation. While logic whispered of rational explanations, a primal part of me recognized a different truth lurking in the shadows. I let my hand wander to the edge of the mattress, not to peer into the darkness below, but to feel the coolness that clung to the air like a hidden embrace. It was a sensation that evoked memories of childhood summers spent submerged in water, where the boundaries between solidity and fluidity blurred into a dreamlike dance. Time bent and swayed, caught in a web of its own making. Minutes stretched and contracted like shadows at dusk, pulling me between lucidity and a trance-like state. Every minute shift in the room became a symphony of the unknown, each sound a note in a melody of mystery. The presence beneath me neither threatened nor comforted, merely existing in harmony with my consciousness. Throughout the night, subtle details unveiled themselves in the hushed space. The whisper of floral notes in the air, reminiscent of night-blooming jasmine. The soft cadence of fingers tapping on wood, their echoes resonating from unseen depths. As dawn tiptoed closer, the darkness shifted its hue, exchanging the street lamp's glow for the soft light of morning. The enigmatic presence ebbed away like the tide retreating from the shore, leaving behind an intangible residue of shared existence. A sense of having danced on the edge of a dream with a companion from another realm, governed by rules beyond our grasp. And when I mustered the courage to glance under the bed in the morning light, all that greeted me was dust and shadow. Yet the space beneath seemed to yawn wider, as if stretching beyond its confines, and the floorboards cradled a warmth that defied the chill of dawn. On the farthest board lay a single handprint, delicate and pristine, etched not in dust, but in the glistening dew of early morning. I left it untouched, a reminder of the mysteries that dwell in the liminal spaces between reality and imagination. Each night, as I drift into slumber, the sounds below have become a nocturnal companion. The gentle rustle, the soft exhale, the occasional whisper of movement, they weave a tapestry of reassurance in the silence. I've learned that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Some are meant to be embraced, like a whispered secret shared with the night. The handprint returns each morning, a silent greeting from the hidden realms that linger at the edge of perception. I no longer seek to unravel its enigma, just as I no longer question the newfound tranquility that envelops my nights. Some mysteries are best left to bloom in the delicate balance between wakefulness and dreams, where the boundaries of the known and the unknown blur into a symphony of wonder. Story 23. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my study, creating a soothing melody that mingled with the crackling of the fireplace. Nestled in my cherished armchair, my gaze drifted to the latest edition hanging on the wall, an antique painting portraying an autumn scene. Discovered in a quaint antique shop, its warm hues and enigmatic aura had drawn me in. The aged golden frame shimmered in the flickering firelight, casting dancing reflections around the room. On that stormy evening, as the tempest outside grew fiercer, a peculiar occurrence captured my attention within the painting. The leaves seemed to stir, as if touched by an unseen breeze. Initially dismissing it as a play of shadows, I soon noticed a subtle shift in the painting's essence. The colors deepened, gaining a vibrancy that held me spellbound. The path meandering through the canvas appeared elongated, twisting beyond its original confines. Rising from my seat, I drew closer to the painting. An unusual chill enveloped the air, contrasting sharply with the warmth of the fire. My fingertips grazed the canvas, revealing a texture unlike any typical oil painting, smooth, almost silky. A hint of wet leaves and damp earth wafted from the frame, so lifelike it blurred the line between reality and art. As I pondered these anomalies, movement flickered in the upper corner of the painting. Among the branches, a presence seemed to hide, distinct from mere shadows. Curiosity fueled my steps backward for a clearer view. Brushstrokes shifted, crafting new paths and forms within the landscape. Trees swayed subtly, stirred by an imperceptible wind. In the distance, a faint structure emerged, gradually taking shape as a quaint stone house with a glowing hearth and luminous windows. The rain's patter transformed into a whisper, harmonizing with the painting's motions. Enthralled, I sank back into my armchair, utterly absorbed by the unfolding spectacle. The room expanded, the boundaries of the painting merging with reality. Through the night, the painting evolved, cycling through mesmerizing hues unseen before. The distant house beckoned, its windows aglow with an inviting warmth. I pondered if inhabitants dwelled within its painted walls, perhaps gazing back at me through that enchanted window. Instead of unease, a serene tranquility settled within me, as if I had uncovered a hidden passageway where reality and fantasy intertwined seamlessly. Hours drifted by, unveiling the painting's mysteries gradually. Figures strolled along the path, their presence fleeting yet tangible, blending with the dancing shadows. Each attempt to focus on these apparitions resulted in their gentle dissolution, akin to fading dream memories upon waking. With the pink hues of dawn painting the sky, the painting returned to its original state. The leaves stilled, colors settled, and the distant house dissolved into the morning mist. Only the lingering scent of damp leaves remained, a subtle reminder of the nocturnal revelations. Since that night, I sit in my armchair, watching the painting, waiting in quiet anticipation. Sometimes it unravels its secrets, while other times it remains silent like any ordinary artwork. Yet I hold the knowledge that behind that canvas lies a world that awakens when the world slumbers, reserved for those patient enough to observe in silence. Story 24. In the heart of my study, the grandfather clock chimed midnight with its deep, familiar resonance, each echo rippling through the tranquil air like whispers on a breeze. Nestled in my worn leather armchair, a book weathered by time lay upon my lap, while the soft pitter-patter of rain danced against the window panes. The old house murmured gently around me, its aged wooden frame settling into the hush of the night. My gaze wandered to the hallway door, its dark wooden silhouette illuminated by the warm glow of my reading lamp. A subtle shift lingered in the air tonight, a whisper of change that eluded my grasp. Perhaps it was the brass handle catching the light in a new way, or the grain of the wood appearing subtly altered. Despite dwelling in this house for 15 years, this door now felt like a stranger in the night. Standing up from my chair, I marked my place in the book with a delicate silk ribbon. The floor beneath my slippers felt cool, a chill seeping through the soles. With each step towards the door, the temperature plummeted further, as if a sliver of winter had crept into this secluded corner of my sanctuary. My fingers brushed against the handle, unexpectedly warm against the frosty air, a stark contrast to the surroundings. The door swung open effortlessly, revealing the familiar hallway bathed in soft light. Everything appeared unchanged: the faded wallpaper, the well-trodden carpet, the cherished framed photographs adorning the walls. Closing the door, I shook my head at my own fanciful musings. Perhaps my mind had been ensnared by the allure of mystery novels. That night, my dreams were woven with doors. They materialized in improbable places, amidst flourishing gardens, hovering in the heavens, standing solitary on deserted shores. Each door bore the same brass handle as the one in my hallway, radiating warmth in defiance of their surroundings. As dawn arrived, I carried on with my daily rituals, barely sparing a glance towards the hallway door as I passed through it. It wasn't until dusk descended, painting the sky with hues of twilight, that a subtle peculiarity caught my eye. The door appeared lighter in color, as if aged by decades overnight. The brass handle now bore a delicate patina previously unseen. Approaching the door once more, I observed with a newfound scrutiny. The wood had transformed, lighter in shade, with a distinct grain pattern foreign to my memory. Even the hinges had shed their iron black for a burnished copper sheen. Yet, upon opening the door, the hallway beyond remained unaltered. Night after night, the door underwent subtle metamorphoses. Its appearance oscillated between aged and rejuvenated, the handle shifting ever so slightly, the frame embellishments waxing and waning. I diligently chronicled each transformation in a journal, capturing the nuances with intricate sketches and meticulous descriptions. The door never changed under my vigilant gaze. It was during the witching hours, when the house held its breath in silence and my focus wandered, that the door embraced its clandestine alterations. One evening, determined to unveil its mysteries, I embarked on a nocturnal vigil. Positioning my armchair to face the door, I brewed a pot of robust tea and settled in for the night. The grandfather clock marked the passage of time with its steady ticking, my eyes growing heavy, yet my resolve unyielding. At 3:17 a.m., as per my trusty watch, the lights flickered momentarily, a subtle shift in the room's atmosphere accompanying the darkness. When the light returned, the door had transformed once more. The warm oak now a lustrous mahogany, delicate silver inlays weaving patterns that seemed to dance in the shadows. Compelled by curiosity, I approached the door, now graced with a handle of carved crystal, and hesitated before touching it. A gentle vibration hummed in the air around the door, a lingering resonance akin to a bell's fading song. And there, in that moment, I made a startling discovery. The door bore no keyhole, never had one in any iteration. Yet, each morning as I passed through, a keyhole had always been there, just beneath the handle. This detail I was certain of. Perplexed, I scoured my journal for mention of the keyhole, only to find it absent from my meticulous entries. Had I overlooked such a fundamental feature, or was a deeper force at play? The question lingered on my mind, elusive as a forgotten dream. Now, as twilight descends upon my study each evening, I ponder the door and its enigmatic transformations. At times, I catch fleeting glimpses of alternate hallways beyond, adorned with different carpets, wallpapers, and photographs. Yet, when I open the door, it remains steadfastly my own hallway. The urge to rearrange the photographs, to test the reality of my hallway, flits through my thoughts. But a silent warning cautions against delving too deeply into the realms between perception and truth. Night after night, the door evolves, each shift bringing forth a new variation. I have come to embrace its quiet metamorphoses, finding solace in the ever-changing spectacle. Is it the door that changes, or perhaps my perception of it that shifts with each passing night? Maybe both truths hold weight, or maybe neither do. What remains certain is the anticipation that stirs within me as the grandfather clock tolls midnight, and the rain serenades the windows. In the tranquil hours before dawn, I eagerly await the unveiling of the door's new form, ready to embrace the mysteries it may choose to disclose or safeguard in its silent vigil. Story 25. The night had draped the house in a cloak of profound quiet, broken only by the soft tap of raindrops on the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the shadows waltzing on the walls, moving in harmony with the flickering firelight. The warmth enveloped me like a snug embrace, while the fragrance of burning wood mingled with the delicate scent of vanilla tea cradled in my palms. In that moment of utter tranquility, a peculiar sight caught my eye in my niece's toy room, peeking through the slightly open door. An ancient porcelain music box, a keepsake from Grandma, seemed to emit a faint bluish radiance. I couldn't recall ever seeing it glow like that before. Slowly, I stood from the armchair, placing the teacup on the wooden side table. Each step I took on the creaking floor blended with the rain's rhythm, weaving an almost hypnotic melody. Drawing near the door, the glow intensified yet retained its gentle allure, akin to moonlight shimmering on a serene pond. The toy room was a haven of reminiscences and enchantment. Wooden shelves cradled porcelain dolls in Victorian attire, vibrant toy trains, and plush animals with gentle gazes. The music box occupied a prominent spot on the central shelf, encircled by small crystals my niece had gathered during her garden strolls. The porcelain ballerina perched atop the music box, typically frozen in her eternal pose, swayed ever so slightly, as if touched by an unseen breeze. Approaching closer, I noticed the room's temperature was notably cooler than the rest of the house. My breath materialized in the air as wisps of mist, while the crystals encircling the music box seemed to react to its glow, casting miniature rainbows on the walls. The ballerina continued her subtle movements, and I could almost hear a faint melody in the distance, akin to a musical whisper from a bygone era. Reaching out towards the music box, the blue light pulsed gently at that instant. The other dolls on the shelf seemed to have turned their heads slightly towards me, but upon blinking, they were back in their original positions. The melody grew more distinct. It was a lullaby Grandma used to sing, a tune I had believed faded from memory. The music box began rotating on its own, leisurely. The ballerina danced with an unearthly grace, her motions fluid like those of a genuine dancer. The crystals now cast intricate patterns on the ceiling, crafting designs that appeared to narrate tales of yesteryears. The room's atmosphere thickened with memories, as if time itself had condensed around that small mystical object. I stood transfixed, enraptured by the spectacle. The music from the music box intertwined with the rain's sound, weaving a symphony that spoke of yearning and concealed enigmas. The shadows in the room seemed to sway to the music's cadence, and for an instant, I felt I was not the sole witness to this private exhibition. Slowly, the melody began to fade, akin to a dream slipping away upon waking. The blue light of the music box dimmed to a barely discernible glow, and the ballerina halted her dance, frozen in stillness. Silence descended upon the room once more, but it felt different, laden with significance and intrigue. Returning to my armchair, I lifted my now tepid tea. As I gazed at the dwindling embers in the fireplace, my thoughts drifted to Grandma and her fondness for objects imbued with tales. I pondered whether she had ever encountered something akin, if the music box had always possessed that magic, or if it was a special gift, reserved for certain moments and certain observers. Since that night, whenever I passed by the toy room, my eyes flickered towards the music box. At times, I think I catch a fleeting blue shimmer, or hear the initial notes of that forgotten lullaby. Yet, perhaps it's merely memories pirouetting in my mind, akin to that porcelain ballerina on that rainy night. Story 26. As heavy rain pattered against the roof, a mesmerizing symphony filled the air, lulling me into solitude within my quaint old country house. The droplets traced intricate paths down the window, their dance illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight flickering against encroaching shadows. Outside, the wind whispered through the garden, rustling the leaves in a natural lullaby. Nestled in my cherished armchair, a cup of steaming tea cradled in my hands, I watched as wisps of vapor curled delicately into the air. Familiar sounds enveloped the house, the gentle creak of aging wood, the rhythmic ticking of the pendulum clock in the entryway, the faint whistle of wind weaving through hidden crevices. Despite the apparent normalcy, an indefinable unease crept into the peaceful evening. It was in the quiet sip of my tea that I discerned the anomaly. The upstairs bedroom window, mirrored in the hallway's looking glass, exuded an eerie glow, as though a phantom flame flickered within. Yet, I knew no light should have been present there. Placing my cup on the nearby table, I rose deliberately and made my way towards the staircase, each step groaning beneath my weight, a sound ingrained in my memory from years spent in this dwelling. That evening, however, every creak seemed to carry a hidden message, as if the house itself sought to communicate with me. The air chilled as I ascended, a thin veil of moisture clinging to the walls of the upper hallway. Upon reaching the bedroom door, I paused, hand hesitating on the icy brass knob. With a slight squeak, the door yielded, unveiling a chamber cloaked in shadows. The window, the very one reflected in the mirror, remained shut. Yet to my astonishment, the lock began to shift of its own accord, inching open without a visible force. The gentle breeze wafting in did not justify the window's movement, and the air carried a nostalgic fragrance of dried blossoms and ancient wood. Drawing nearer, I observed raindrops pirouetting into the room, forming intricate patterns before alighting on the floor. Amid this inexplicable display, my gaze was drawn to the glass, where ghostly writing materialized, letters etched by unseen hands in the mist. As the words slowly formed, a steady thrum echoed in my chest. The curtains stirred softly, mimicking the tranquil breaths of a slumbering figure. Moonlight filtered through rain-laden clouds, casting ethereal shadows that weaved silent tales on the walls. Reaching out to touch the glass, a chill enveloped my fingertips as the window closed with a deliberate gentleness, the lock clicking softly as the ancient aroma dissipated. Motionless, I absorbed the lingering rain's melody outside, the room now restored to its former state, though forever altered by the encounter. It felt as though the house had unveiled a fragment of an otherworldly realm, a parallel existence glimpsed only when the veil between reality and mystery grew as thin as silk. Since that fateful night, whenever rain graced the night, I would settle into my armchair, gaze fixed on the window's reflection in the hallway mirror. Sometimes it remained motionless, while on other occasions it would open slowly, a silent ritual that became woven into the tapestry of my life. The source of this mysterious phenomenon remained elusive, yet I embraced it as a facet of my home's enigmatic nature, a secret shared solely between myself and the ancient walls. On the stillest nights, as the wind whispered secrets through the trees and rain cascaded gently, I could almost sense a familiar presence, a spectral guardian watching over me, a silent companion manifested through a window that opened of its own accord. Story 27. In the stillness of twilight, the air carried whispers of ancient secrets, a symphony of earthy scents and gentle rustling leaves. Walking a path bathed in golden hues, following the elusive melody of a distant bird, the world around me shifted. Without warning, the song vanished, and the path disappeared into the shadows. Standing amidst the forest's quiet expanse, I felt the pulse of nature all around me. Each step on the velvet moss seemed to sink into a realm where time held no sway. The evening light painted the world in amber shades, yet a subtle change lingered in the air. Shadows stretched like reaching fingers, creating a surreal dance across the forest floor. Moving forward soundlessly, I entered a realm transformed, where trees towered taller, their bark shimmering with elusive patterns. White flowers glowed softly, casting a gentle luminescence as dusk settled in. The temperature dipped, a misty veil caressing the trees with delicate grace. Water's distant murmur surrounded me from all directions, a sweet fragrance of honey and antiquity lingering in the air. Amidst this mystical landscape, curious stones arranged in intricate patterns caught my eye, circles and spirals of ancient design, each stone pulsing with a faint inner light. Resisting the urge to disturb their placement, I ventured deeper into the forest's embrace. The mist now held a radiant glow, weaving through the trees like ethereal threads. Passing through clearings where secrets whispered in the grass and mushroom rings mirrored celestial patterns above, a sense of timelessness enveloped me. Minutes melded with hours, the sky obscured by dense canopy, yet the unseen constellations guiding my way. My watch ceased its ticking, hands moving in reverse when I dared to glance at them. A small stream defied gravity, its crystal waters reflecting no image but hosting dancing lights beneath the surface, a surreal melody echoing through the air. Shadows flitted on the edge of sight, figures moving alongside me in the forest's rhythm, indifferent to my presence. Patterns emerged in the moss with each step, glowing softly before fading into the earth, as if the forest itself was a living canvas of my passage. The air shimmered with points of light, dancing with intent, forming shapes just beyond recognition. Arriving in a vast clearing, mist swirled in geometric harmony around an ancient tree, its form a testament to time's endless dance. Approaching the tree, I found inscriptions upon its bark, foreign yet familiar, brushing against my thoughts like fleeting memories. Stories of wanderers and worlds interwoven in the fabric of existence whispered through the silver twilight that enveloped the forest. Night descended, yet darkness never claimed its throne, a soft hum reverberating in harmony with my own heartbeat. In this realm of the surreal, fear dissolved into understanding, a sense of belonging amidst the unknown. Writing these words in a journal materialized from the ether, ink flowing upward in defiance of gravity. Lost yet anchored in the present, a serene acceptance washed over me. The bird's song had faded, replaced by melodies of moonlight and harmonies of autumn's caress. The forest held me in its embrace, a sanctuary of the impossible made real, where time flowed like a gentle stream. Here in this enigmatic realm, the quest for being found lost its urgency, for in surrendering to the mysteries, I found solace in simply being. Story 28. The autumn mist draped the park like a gentle cloak of gray silk, as leaves pirouetted lazily in the cool evening breeze. Walking along the gravel path, I relished the earthy fragrance mingling with the hushed rhythm of my steps. The misty glow from the street lamps cast soft halos, barely illuminating the path ahead. And there, amidst the ethereal haze, a dark coat lay, neatly folded on a weathered wooden bench. The park was deserted, and the coat appeared meticulously placed, as if with intent. Approaching cautiously, I observed how the woolen fabric absorbed the moisture, exuding a lingering warmth as though recently shed. Curiosity, not fear, tingled through me as I reached for the coat. It was elegant, adorned with delicate mother-of-pearl buttons that faintly shimmered in the dim light. Searching the pockets, my fingers encountered only emptiness, save for a lone bus ticket dated 1985. Time seemed suspended as I pondered this relic from another era, its yellowed paper strangely preserved. Seating myself beside the coat, I let my mind drift as the mist thickened around me. A subtle blend of lavender and pipe tobacco wafted from the fabric, triggering memories of bygone days, of sepia-toned photographs and forgotten tales. Upon closer inspection, I discovered faded initials, JM, delicately embroidered in golden thread. The park's silence was broken by a distant melody, ancient music reminiscent of a forgotten era, a haunting echo in the mist. Standing up to trace the music's origin, I found it elusive, floating around me, teasing with its ethereal presence. Returning to the bench, I noticed the coat had shifted, its fold imperfect, a button catching the light differently. Despite my solitude, a subtle unease crept in as time seemed distorted, the fog enveloping me in a surreal embrace. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, the distant music fading into whispers. Lost in speculation about JM and their mysterious garment, I felt a fleeting touch on my shoulder, a whisper of a breeze. Startled, I turned to find only swirling mist, the coat now aged, its fabric worn and color faded. Respecting the enigma, I left it undisturbed, walking away as the music briefly sharpened, an unfamiliar waltz echoing through the mist, tantalizingly familiar. Returning the next morning, drawn by curiosity, the bench stood empty, save for the lingering impression where the coat once lay. Beside it, a fresh bus ticket, today's date inscribed. Even now, on misty evenings, passing by the bench, echoes of that distant melody linger, mingling with the hint of lavender and tobacco. Sometimes, as the streetlights flicker in the mist, a phantom figure, elegant and elusive, seems to stroll away in the park, dissolving into the fluttering leaves, a ghostly dance in the twilight breeze. Story 29. The faint aroma of aged wood hung in the air as I switched off the lights for the night. The house lay silent, its floorboards whispering softly beneath my steps. Just as I reached the threshold of my bedroom, a sound halted me in my tracks. A slow, dragging creak. My senses sharpened, and my gut clenched as I pivoted to face the source. The attic door stood ajar. I stood motionless, ears attuned to the house's quiet symphony. The gentle exhale of wind through weathered frames, the settling of ancient timbers. Unlike the other doors in the house, the attic door possessed a weightiness, a weathered allure that hinted at concealed mysteries within its grain. Ordinarily, I would have shut it promptly. Yet a peculiar curiosity rooted me in place, its tendrils weaving through my thoughts like wisps of fog. The darkness beyond the door was not a void of blackness, but rather a soft, silvery veil, moonlight seeping through unseen panes, casting ethereal shadows that danced with a ghostly grace. Almost involuntarily, my hand extended towards the door. The wood felt cool and smooth beneath my touch, its surface stripped of layers of paint to reveal the raw essence beneath. Each contact evoked a memory, fleeting recollections of long-forgotten conversations, echoes of bygone movements. I advanced, guided by an unseen force. The floorboards beneath me responded differently here, their whispers a melodic murmur that felt more like a sigh than a creak. Memories of my grandmother's tales drifted through my mind, stories of houses that retained memories, of spaces that transcended mere physicality. A whisper of air caressed my skin, neither warm nor cold, but anticipatory, as though the very atmosphere held its breath, awaiting something unseen. I crossed the threshold without conscious intent. The attic defied my expectations. Moonlight bathed the room through a solitary window, casting a radiant rectangle upon the wooden floor. Dust motes pirouetted in the luminous beam, moving with a deliberate, almost choreographed elegance. Shapes materialized from the shadows, ancient trunks, forsaken furniture, silhouettes pregnant with untold narratives. One object seized my gaze, a modest wooden chair, bathed in the moon's glow. It sat there as though deliberately placed, as though someone, or something, had only just vacated its seat upon my arrival. I approached cautiously. The chair, weathered with age, bore a velvety coat of dust, marred by a recent disturbance, a faint imprint, barely discernible, as if a presence had just departed. Silence enveloped the room, yet within that silence pulsed a vitality, a watchful presence. My fingers trailed along the chair's back, stirring a distant, hazy memory. There was a familiarity tinged with unfamiliarity, akin to a dream fading upon waking. A distant owl's hoot pierced the stillness, its reverberations causing the dust motes to whirl in a graceful ballet. For an instant, the moonlight seemed to shift, crafting patterns that almost coalesced into recognizable forms. Then, tranquility settled once more. I comprehended, without rationale, that I was not solitary. But this companionship did not intimidate, it comforted. It felt like a consciousness, benign and observant, intertwined with the very essence of the space. The chair persisted. The moonlight maintained its silent vigil. And somewhere in the periphery of awareness, something comprehended me as wholly as I began to grasp it. Certain enigmas, I realized, were not meant for resolution. They were meant for immersion, for sensation, for imprinting upon the soft creases of consciousness where reality melded with imagination, birthing something profound and ineffable. I stood rooted, inhaling deeply, a fragment of the room, a strand of its narrative. Story 30. The rain cascaded with a mesmerizing beat on the rooftop of the house, crafting a natural symphony that serenaded the stillness of the night. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of now chilled chamomile tea, I found myself dreamily entranced by the soothing rhythm when a subtle anomaly captured my attention. A delicate, nearly imperceptible sound intertwined with the rain's percussion, faint footsteps echoing from the depths of the basement. Initially, I dismissed it as the typical settling of an aged abode. Old houses possess a language of their own, communicating through gentle creaks and murmurs. Mine was no exception, particularly on rainy evenings when the dampness coaxed the wooden framework to sigh softly. Yet there was an unfamiliar quality to the way these noises materialized, as if adhering to a deliberate sequence, a cadence that eerily resembled human steps. Rising from my seat with measured motions, I set the cup down on the adjacent side table. The wooden floor beneath my feet radiated a residual warmth, a remnant of the day's heating. With each step towards the basement door, the air grew progressively colder, as though an icy breath ascended from the stairwell. The brass knob chilled my fingertips, and as I turned it, a solitary click reverberated through the hush of the house. The staircase unfurling below was shrouded in darkness, pierced only by a faint bluish glow seeping through a diminutive skylight. Descending cautiously, my own footfalls mingled with the enigmatic ones I had previously discerned. The distinctive scent of the basement, a tapestry of ancient wood, musty soil, and an indefinable essence, intensified as I ventured downward. Within the subterranean chamber, shadows cavorted on the walls with each flash of lightning through the skylight. Laden shelves adorned with antiquities cast contorted silhouettes that appeared to sway in synchrony with the rain's cadence. It was then that I espied something peculiar. Delicate footprints etched in the dusty floor. These were not ordinary prints. Rather, they resembled ethereal traces of moisture, as if an individual with damp soles had paced circularly in the room's center. Approaching the prints with caution, I endeavored to discern their origin. The skylight remained intact, and there were no indications of water seepage. While scrutinizing these enigmatic marks, a motion in the dimmest recess of the basement seized my focus. A slow, obscure stir seemed to manifest in that shadowed corner. My heart quickened, not out of dread, but from a blend of curiosity and an uncanny sense of recognition. Advancing towards that obscure niche, the chill in the air intensified. The footsteps I had perceived from above resurfaced, although now it was apparent they emanated from all directions, encircling the space as if a phantom traversed every inch of the room simultaneously. In that instant, a revelation struck me. The footprints on the floor were not random. They delineated a meticulous design, a spiral converging towards the room's core. Tracing this spiral pattern with my gaze, I discerned that the freshest prints, those nearest the center, remained moist, as though freshly imprinted. I stood transfixed for what felt like an eternity, observing as these traces gradually dissipated, evaporating into the frigid basement atmosphere. The footfalls dwindled to a whisper, melding seamlessly with the ongoing rain outside. Ascending the stairs once more, a peculiar tranquility enveloped me, as if I had borne witness to an ancient, enigmatic ritual, a timeless cycle unfolding in the house's depths. That night, as I readied myself for slumber, I recognized a shift in the rain's melody upon the rooftop. No longer a mere cascade of droplets, it seemed to echo the same rhythm as the footsteps resonating from the basement. Drifting into sleep with that haunting harmony in my ears, I pondered whether the footsteps would revisit the following night, and if I would summon the courage to linger long enough to unveil the enigma behind those phantom footprints in the dust. Story 31. The tranquility of the night was interrupted solely by the rhythmic clinking of the train wheels rolling along the tracks. I found myself in the final carriage, enveloped in the soft glow of the dim light hanging from above. The atmosphere was cozy, and the steady movement of the train induced an almost hypnotic effect. Peering out the window, I watched as the mist leisurely swirled in the darkness, morphing into fleeting shapes that dissolved into the night. It seemed I was the sole passenger in that carriage, or so I presumed. My reflection on the window pane blended with the outside obscurity, crafting the illusion of an indistinct presence observing me from beyond. The sound of the tracks held a soothing quality, akin to a mechanical lullaby coaxing me into slumber. It was then that I discerned something peculiar in my reflection on the glass. A shadow loomed behind me, a silhouette seated a few rows back. I couldn't recall anyone boarding, yet now unmistakably there was a figure present. The train trundled onward through the night, and the persistent clatter of the wheels seemed to murmur ancient, forgotten tales. I pivoted slowly, endeavoring not to attract notice. The carriage was bathed in an amber hue, casting elongated shadows over the vacant seats. The figure I had glimpsed in the reflection remained motionless, cloaked in what appeared to be a dark garment. I couldn't discern their visage, concealed beneath the brim of a wide hat. Time appeared to dilate as I scrutinized that silent presence. The atmosphere in the carriage grew heavier, as though saturated with memories foreign to me. The passenger remained immobile, silent, as if an intrinsic part of the train itself. Deciding to rise, feigning a visit to the restroom at the rear of the carriage, I inched closer to the enigmatic figure. I observed that their coat seemed to absorb light, rather than reflect it, giving off an eerie chill, accompanied by a faint aroma of lavender and aged books lingering in the air. Passing by the seat occupied by the mysterious passenger, I felt as though time had momentarily halted. The clamor of the tracks suddenly felt distant, as if from another realm. It was then that I noticed a disconcerting detail. Beneath the dark cloak, there was no movement, no discernible sign of breath. Reaching the end of the carriage, I hesitated, unsure whether to proceed to the next carriage or return to my seat. The corridor appeared interminable, and the subdued lights cast hypnotic patterns on the floor. Upon glancing back, the seat where the mysterious figure had sat was vacant. Left behind was solely an aged train ticket, yellowed with time. Trembling, I retrieved it. The date inscribed was 50 years past, on the exact day. The ticket exuded warmth, as though recently held. I settled back into my seat, clutching the ticket between my fingers. The train meandered through the night, the rhythmic sound of the wheels once more soothing. The mist outside the window seemed denser now, and through it, I fancied I discerned other figures strolling parallel to the train, as if accompanying it on its nocturnal voyage. Drifting into weariness, I pondered how many others had encountered that mysterious passenger on the final train of the night. The ticket I held served as the sole tangible proof of that surreal encounter, yet even it appeared to grow increasingly transient, akin to a dream dissipating upon waking. The train persisted in its nocturnal journey, carrying with it its hidden enigmas and passengers, both seen and unseen. As slumber beckoned, I sensed a faint hint of lavender in the air and the distant echo of footsteps receding along the carriage's corridor. Story 32. The glow of the setting sun draped the rooftops in a comforting cloak of warm orange light, casting a hushed spell over the neighborhood. Peering out from my window, my gaze fixed upon the house opposite, a modest abode forever veiled in shadows. There was a peculiar stillness about it, as if time itself held its breath within those walls. My neighbor, an enigmatic figure, never ventured out into the daylight world. Only under the cover of night did his presence stir, a silent wraith slipping through the quiet streets. This curious observation began months ago, when I first settled into the tranquil suburban community. Initially, I dismissed it as mere oddity. Perhaps he kept nocturnal hours or followed an unconventional routine. But as the days stretched into endless weeks, a pattern emerged, deliberate and mesmerizing. The house seemed to pulse with a mysterious energy, its secrets shrouded behind heavy, unmoving curtains that shielded its windows from prying eyes. In the daylight, it stood like a forgotten relic, yet there was an undeniable aura of occupancy that lingered in the air. A faint, almost imperceptible hum whispered across the street, a subtle reminder of something unseen, something waiting. My curiosity unfurled like a delicate vine, creeping steadily along the walls of my mind. I found myself drawn to the minutiae, the subtle nuances that hinted at a hidden world within. The lawn, meticulously tended, bore no sign of neglect. Each blade of grass trimmed with precision, every edge sharp and defined. Yet the hands that sculpted this perfection remained elusive, veiled in mystery. On rainy evenings, when the sky wept softly against window panes and rooftops, the neighborhood would descend into a tranquil reverie. It was then that the house would stir, ever so subtly. Curtains would shift, reflections in windows would dance in the moonlight, teasing the boundaries of reality. Whispers of my neighbor circulated among the residents, a passing mention here, a cryptic comment there. "He keeps to himself," they would murmur, a note of unease tainting their words. His name, his occupation, the length of his residence, all veiled in uncertainty, as if he occupied a space between worlds, belonging to neither entirely. One autumn night, as the leaves whispered secrets along the sidewalk, I witnessed a departure from the ordinary. The front door creaked open, and something different emerged. The figure moved with an ethereal grace, defying the constraints of human motion. Lit by the amber glow of the streetlights, it seemed to meld with the shadows, a fluid entity navigating the boundary between light and dark. Details shifted with each blink, a coat that wavered between solidity and translucence, a gait both purposeful and hesitant. My fascination was not born of fear, but of a tranquil curiosity, akin to a deep meditation. Each nocturnal procession felt like a sacred ritual, a dance performed for the silent audience of the night itself. It was a world parallel to our own, a realm of enigma and wonder that beckoned from the edges of perception. As the night deepened, a profound silence enveloped the world, a pregnant pause, pregnant with anticipation, as if the very air held secrets yet to be revealed. And amidst this nocturnal symphony, my neighbor moved, a spectral figure against the velvety darkness. I watched, not with trepidation, but with a sense of awe, as if witnessing a melody too distant to grasp, a riddle too intricate to solve. The mystery was not a puzzle to be deciphered, but an experience to be embraced, a feeling to be savored in the quiet spaces between certainty and wonder. With the gradual approach of dawn, the figure would return, slipping back into the house with a silence that bordered on the ethereal. And then, nothing but stillness. A profound, unbroken stillness that whispered of untold secrets and unseen worlds. Who was he? What unseen forces guided his nocturnal wanderings? These questions drifted through my mind like wisps of cloud, unassuming and gentle, content to linger in the realm of beautiful uncertainty. Some mysteries, I came to realize, are not meant to be unraveled. They are meant to be experienced, to be felt, like a soft caress against the skin, like a memory on the edge of remembrance, like the delicate space between dreaming and waking. And so I surrendered to the enigma, letting it wash over me like a lullaby, soothing me into a peaceful slumber where questions mattered not and only the mystery remained. Story 33. The soft symphony of crickets whispered through my open window, harmonizing with the distant hum of passing cars. Within the dimly lit sanctuary of my bedroom, shadows danced along the walls, cast by the gentle glow of the street lamp outside. Just as I was about to surrender to the embrace of sleep, a subtle shift in the atmosphere captured my attention, sending a shiver down my spine. My gaze was drawn to the front door, standing ajar and swaying ever so slightly in the night breeze. I lay still, entranced by the delicate motion of the door, its hinges releasing the faintest of whispers with each sway. The cool night air carried the fragrance of rain-kissed earth and autumn foliage, weaving a tapestry of scents that stirred memories within me. Recollections of earlier that evening surfaced, when I had meticulously checked the lock, a nightly ritual ingrained from years of solitude. The familiar creaks and murmurs of the house, usually comforting, now held a cryptic allure. With deliberate movements, I rose from my bed, the cool touch of the wooden floor grounding me as I ventured towards the hallway. Moonbeams filtered through the windows, painting ethereal patterns upon the walls, guiding me towards the open door. The night beckoned beyond the threshold, a canvas adorned with twinkling stars and swaying trees. As I neared the doorway, wrapping my arms around myself, a glint on the welcome mat caught my eye, a solitary white feather, its pristine beauty illuminated by the moon's tender gaze. I gingerly picked up the feather, marveling at its ethereal softness, its size hinting at a creature beyond the ordinary realm. In the kitchen, I placed the feather on the counter and brewed chamomile tea, the familiar ritual, a balm for my unsettled spirit. The warm fragrance mingled with the nocturnal air that still caressed my home, a soothing blend of scents and sensations. While waiting for the tea to steep, I noticed a peculiar trait of the feather. It emitted a subtle, almost imperceptible glow. Memories of my grandmother's tales resurfaced, stories of nocturnal visitors who watched over the slumbering, leaving traces of their presence. What once seemed mere bedtime stories now whispered of possibility, the feather's luminescence a silent affirmation. The digital clock displayed 3:33 a.m., a time steeped in mystique according to my grandmother. The hour bridging night and dawn was said to thin the veil between worlds, a gentle hour where benevolent beings traversed unseen boundaries. Cradling my tea in the feather, I returned to my room, the open door a silent sentinel. As I finally closed the door, a melodious echo drifted in on the breeze, a sound akin to wind chimes but imbued with a deeper resonance. Captivated, I stood in the stillness, unable to discern the source of the enchanting melody. It rose and fell, leaving in its wake a tranquility that draped over the house like a silken cloak. With a soft click, the door secured, and a newfound calm settled within me. Returning to my room, I placed the feather on my nightstand, its intricate swirls catching the faint light in a dance of shadows. Sipping my tea, seated in quiet contemplation, I pondered the stories of guardian spirits in avian form shared by my grandmother. These luminous beings were said to guide souls at crossroads, a notion that resonated with my current juncture, contemplating a career shift, planning a move shrouded in secrecy. The feather's gentle pulse mirrored the rhythm of my breath, a silent companion in the stillness of the night. As dawn's chorus began to stir outside, I settled back into bed, the feather's glow waning with the rising sun. The mystery of the open door remained unsolved, a silent enigma in the tapestry of my existence. Yet, in the hazy realm between wakefulness and slumber, echoes of the melodic wind chimes lingered, a reminder of unseen hands weaving threads of fate. In the ensuing months, I embarked on new paths, the feather cradled in a velvet-lined box as a silent witness to my journey. On quiet nights, bathed in solitude, I would unveil the feather, tracing its evolving patterns that whispered of untold tales. Each glance unveiled a new layer of meaning, a cryptic roadmap unfurling before me. Now, when I double lock my door at night, it is not out of fear but reverence, a ritual acknowledging the liminal space between certainty and mystery. And on nights when the window remains ajar, inviting in the nocturnal serenade of crickets and distant wind chimes, I wonder if my nocturnal visitor will return, bearing another message, another clue along the winding path I now tread, a path both strange and wondrous, illuminated by the glow of a single, enigmatic feather. Story 34. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my vintage farmhouse, weaving a mesmerizing tune with the gentle creak of the hardwood floor beneath my steps. It was an autumn evening where reality and fantasy blurred, the tree leaves swaying in the night, casting elusive shadows on the cream walls through misty panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, holding a cup of now cool chamomile tea, I idly watched as the floor lamp's glow painted a golden halo on the ground. A subtle shift lingered in the air that night, a mysterious presence I couldn't quite grasp. Perhaps it was the thickness of the atmosphere, or the profound silence enveloping the house, almost palpable in its depth. With a slow rise, I was drawn by a flicker at the corner of my eye. The hallway leading to the bedrooms appeared elongated, stretching beyond its usual boundaries. The shadows in the corners seemed denser, alive in their darkness. Standing at the threshold of the living room, I peered into the thickening darkness down the hallway. A gradual chill crept closer as I moved forward, the wooden floor whispering unfamiliar sounds beneath my feet. The family portraits on the walls seemed to observe me with altered gazes, their familiar faces slightly different, almost otherworldly. Halfway down the hallway, a peculiar scent wafted to me, an ancient aroma of old books and damp wood foreign to my home. Turning to the window, rain had crafted intricate patterns on the glass, following an enigmatic design. And then I saw it, a shadow darker than the rest, moving with a graceful unnaturalness along the opposite wall. It held a solidity of its own, not cast by any visible object, gliding with a hesitant elegance. As I observed, my breath deepened, a strange sense of recognition replacing fear. The shadow paused by the guest room door, taking on a faintly human shape. Stepping closer, it seemed to acknowledge my presence, wavering slightly. The rain's whispers turned into a constant murmur, as if carrying a message. I strained to listen, catching fleeting words in an unknown yet strangely familiar language. The air grew colder, a refreshing embrace like silk on a warm night. The shadow began moving towards me, a slow-motion dance in the quiet. I stood still as it neared, stopping just a few steps away. In the hush, I heard my heartbeat, steady and calm. The shadow inclined as if in greeting. Moved by an unexplained impulse, I raised my hand. Mirroring my movement, the shadow appeared to reach out, a hint of warmth where our hands almost met. Then, with the same grace, it began to dissipate, vanishing into the air like smoke in a breeze, leaving behind a whisper of jasmine and profound peace. In that hallway, time seemed suspended as I listened to the fading rain. Returning to the living room, I found my tea still warm, as if untouched by the encounter. Since that night, on rainy evenings, I tread the hallway with a watchful eye on the shadows. Sometimes I catch a glimpse of that familiar form dancing just beyond sight. The mystery of the shadow remains unsolved, yet its presence left me not with unease, but with an acceptance of inexplicable wonders. The hallway now holds its secret, and on quiet nights when rain taps the windows, I wait with a blend of curiosity and tranquility for another encounter with the dancing shadow beyond the hallway. Story 35. The November breeze gently danced with the dry leaves on the pathway as I gazed at the outline of the forsaken manor silhouetted against the heavy, overcast sky. Known as the house that was never truly inhabited, it held a history of a resident long forgotten by time. Approaching the weathered gate, the icy touch of the wrought iron sent shivers through my fingertips. The air carried a distinct scent of moss and damp stone, enveloping the surroundings in a mysterious aura. Nature had taken over the once manicured garden, with brambles and nettles reclaiming the cracked walls. Yet an air of melancholic grace still clung to the mansion's dilapidated facade. In my role as a real estate agent, I had been tasked with assessing the property. The current owner, an elderly man residing in a distant land, sought to part ways with the estate he had inherited but never visited. As I ventured through the unkempt garden, a curious observation caught my eye. Amidst the unruly foliage, faint pathways appeared to have been recently traversed, hinting at a secret visitor. However, the neighbors had sworn that no one ever set foot on the premises. Pushing open the front door, it groaned softly, granting entry into a world frozen in time. The interior was bathed in a twilight blue hue, filtering through closed shutters, the air thick with dust and the essence of aged wood. Each step echoed as I explored the grand hall, where draped furniture loomed like spectral figures in the dim light. Massive veiled mirrors on the walls played tricks with the scant illumination, casting eerie illusions of movement. Ascending the creaking staircase, my hand clutched the polished wooden railing worn smooth by generations past. The upper floor revealed a series of closed doors, each concealing empty rooms save for a few shrouded pieces of furniture. It was in the final chamber that a sense of unease crept upon me. A feminine bedroom lay before me, its surfaces cloaked in a thin layer of dust disturbed by recent activity. A silver hairbrush sat upon the dresser, its bristles intertwined with dark, fresh strands untouched by time. The sight stirred a flutter in my chest as my gaze fell upon the neatly arranged bed, the delicate lace bedspread bearing a slight indentation as if someone had just risen. As I prepared to depart, a flicker of movement in the mirror caught my eye, suggesting the presence of a woman seated on the bed. Startled, I spun around, finding the room empty, yet imbued with an undeniable sense of occupancy. Descending the stairs hastier than I ascended, the salon now bathed in shifting afternoon shadows, I made my way to the exit. A soft, haunting hum drifted down from above, a poignant melody that seemed to echo through the ancient halls. Pausing with my hand on the door handle, I strained to discern whether it was the breeze or a figment of my imagination. Leaving the manor behind, the garden now tranquil, I stole a final glance back. A fleeting glimpse of movement behind an upstairs window, and a faint, vanishing glow left me unsettled. In the days following, my report on the property detailed its condition and potential, omitting the inexplicable occurrences within. Yet, A cryptic notation hinted at the house's enigmatic allure, drawing a specific kind of buyer to its storied halls. The property lingered on the market, and during my occasional visits, a spectral figure seemed to drift through the upper chambers, as if awaiting a long-lost companion, or perhaps trapped in an eternal moment of timelessness. The mystery of the house that was never truly inhabited lay not in its lack of occupants, but in the presence that refused to depart, forever haunting its neglected rooms. Story 36. The autumn mist enveloped the streets like a soft gray shroud, casting a mystical aura over the night. It was on my way home from a long day at work that I first noticed it. A pair of headlights in the fog, trailing behind me at a steady distance. There was a whisper of something peculiar in the air, a subtle intuition that lingered in my mind, hinting at the strangeness of the car matching my every move. The low hum of the engine trailing me seemed to breathe in sync with the rhythm of my journey, a silent companion in the mist. As I slowed down, it slowed. When I picked up speed, it mirrored my pace effortlessly. Peering through the rearview mirror, I could only discern a shadowy outline, perhaps a sedan, with headlights that gleamed like vigilant eyes never breaking their gaze. The road meandered through the quiet neighborhood, the still houses exuding a calmness that clashed with the unease creeping over me. Curiosity nudged me to deviate from my usual path. I continued straight, elongating my route. And like a ghostly echo, the car followed suit, maintaining that eerie proximity that was beginning to feel oddly familiar. The patter of rain on the windshield created a soothing melody, a tranquil backdrop to the unfolding enigma. Raindrops trickled down the glass, distorting the view of the steadfast presence behind me. I made turns down side streets, a whimsical dance unfolding between us, connected by an unseen bond. The headlights, a constant companion, never faltered, never closing in too near or lagging behind. The neighborhood slumbered, oblivious to our nocturnal tango. Pausing at a red light, a figure in the motionless silhouette of the car's driver's seat caught my eye through the rain-smeared glass. The stillness was unnerving, frozen in time like a statue. When I finally decided to head home, the loyal shadow of the car remained, parked several yards away. Cutting the engine, a hush fell, broken only by the rain's gentle patter and the thud of my heart. Peering into the rearview mirror, the car remained, headlights piercing the darkness, a steadfast sentinel. Minutes stretched into eternity as I mustered my courage and stepped out into the rain, shielded by my jacket. But as I turned to inspect closer, the street lay barren, devoid of the car that had trailed me through the night. Since that eerie evening, whenever I navigate the night roads, an involuntary glance at the mirror has become a ritual. And on misty nights, those familiar headlights seem to flicker in the distance, patient and watchful. I ponder if the car now accompanies another soul or bides its time, waiting for the perfect moment to rejoin me in a nocturnal dance through the city's silent streets. Story 37. The day had been long and arduous, leaving me drained as I settled onto the cozy couch, seeking solace in the familiar quiet of my home. The only sound that dared to break the silence was the gentle hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, a steady lullaby for the weary soul. Absent-mindedly, I glanced at my phone, a modern lifeline in this tranquil sanctuary. Suddenly, it stirred to life with a soft vibration, one ring followed by another, displaying my own name on the screen. Curiosity nudged at me, akin to noticing a strange shadow in a place you thought you knew well. The soft evening light filtered through the curtains, painting delicate patterns on the wooden floor, adding to the mysterious ambiance of the moment. The air seemed to thicken, enveloping me in a cocoon of presence, while the ceiling fan above whispered its soothing melody, synchronizing with the gentle rhythm of my slowing heartbeat. As the phone continued its persistent buzz against the coffee table, a peculiar sensation crept over me. I listened intently, the world around me, hushing to a whisper. The phone screen illuminated my own contact details, my own face peering back at me, a mirror image in a digital realm. With a tentative touch, I answered the call, greeted not by words, but by a soft, ethereal static that evoked memories of standing by the ocean on a moonlit night. The silence that followed was not empty, but pregnant with unseen textures, a canvas waiting to be explored. Pressing the phone closer to my ear, I felt the cool touch of the screen against my skin. "Hello?" I murmured softly, my voice barely a ripple in the tranquil pond of the room. The response that came, though muffled and indistinct, carried a cadence that resonated with my very essence, like an echo from a distant realm. Lost in this surreal conversation, I sank deeper into the embrace of the couch, my fingers tracing absent patterns on the fabric. The warm glow of the lamp in the corner pulsed gently, casting an amber halo that seemed to breathe in tandem with me. Outside, the moon played hide and seek with drifting clouds, casting ever-shifting shadows that danced upon my walls, a silent ballet of light and dark. The voice on the other end began to speak with more clarity, yet its words felt like whispers underwater, familiar yet tantalizingly elusive. It spoke of moments from my past, slightly altered, like fragments of a dream recalled upon waking. References to decisions made, outcomes unknown to me, wove a tapestry of intrigue that blurred the boundaries of time. Minutes stretched like molasses, each tick of the clock elongated, as if time itself had surrendered to this enigmatic conversation. I found myself nodding along, drawn into a narrative that felt both foreign and intimately mine. The room's temperature shifted imperceptibly, a subtle dance of warmth and coolness that caressed my skin. My hand holding the phone tingled faintly, a ghostly reminder of presence. The weight of an unfamiliar wedding ring on my finger whispered of alternate realities, of lives unlived. Details in my home revealed subtle differences, a reality askew yet eerily familiar. Family photos hung in rearranged order, books bore the marks of a touch I didn't recall. The voice spoke of tomorrow, of events yet to unfold, its words a gentle prophecy wrapped in the shroud of mystery. I leaned in, captivated by the secrets whispered by my own voice, while outside the wind whispered secrets of its own, harmonizing with the voice on the line. As the conversation ebbed like a winding river, finding its course, my voice, my guide, shared a childhood memory long forgotten, a key unlocking hidden doors in my mind. When the call concluded, I sat in the growing shadows, the phone a weighty anchor to this surreal experience. 47 minutes had passed, yet my call history bore no trace of this enigmatic conversation. Only the lingering warmth of the phone in my hand and the vivid memory of a childhood moment reclaimed from the depths of time remained. Now, as night deepens beyond my window, the refrigerator's hum serenades the quiet darkness, a lullaby for the sleepless. A distant clock chimes midnight, marking the passage of time in the realm of dreams. My reflection in the window seems to lag behind, a subtle shift that hints at unseen forces at play, or perhaps merely a trick of the mind. The phone rests in silence on the table, a silent sentinel in the night. Yet at times, out of the corner of my eye, I catch a glimpse of its soft glow, beckoning me once more into the enigmatic embrace of my own voice, my own reflection, calling from beyond the veil of the ordinary. Story 38. The ancient house still stood at the edge of the cobblestone street, its weathered wooden panels blending into the shadows, and its windows veiled with a layer of forgotten stories. It had been years since I last set foot in this neighborhood, years since my family packed up and left without a backward glance. Yet, on this twilight evening, a peculiar force halted my steps as I passed by. A lone figure gazed out from the upper window, a silent sentinel in the fading light. The house had been vacant for as long as anyone could remember, left to the mercy of time and memories. The autumn breeze carried with it the earthy fragrance of rain-soaked leaves and distant hearth fires, cocooning me in a sense of nostalgia that felt both comforting and unsettling. Whispers of wind rustled through the unkempt grass, creating gentle ripples that mirrored the waves of time I had spent pondering life's mysteries from my childhood bedroom window, the very window where movement now caught my eye. Driven by a blend of reminiscence and intrigue, I found myself drawn closer, my footfalls soft on the gravel path, stirring up the scent of damp earth. The porch groaned beneath my weight as I ascended the steps, each creak a melody from the past, a tune of summer evenings spent lost in books and daydreams. The sound carried me back to a bygone era when this house was a sanctuary, pulsating with vitality and love. A flutter in my periphery caught my attention, a lace curtain dancing in the window, though the air inside remained stagnant. The fabric, pristine white and untouched by time, stood in stark contrast to the aged, yellow drapes I remembered from my previous visit 5 years ago. My hand trailed along the worn banister, a tactile connection to generations past, the smooth spots bearing the imprints of countless hands, mine, my mother's, my grandmother's. The familiar spot where the key hid behind a loose brick in the foundation beckoned to me, a gesture frozen in time, a ritual repeated over 3 decades. The key slid effortlessly into the lock, the mechanism yielding with a whisper of resistance. The door swung inward with a mournful groan, the sound resonating through the vacant chambers like a melancholic melody. Inside, the air held a different quality, not musty and stale as anticipated, but cool and fragrant, tinged with a hint of lavender. Dried lavender bundles, a signature of my mother's, infused the space with a subtle sweetness. Dust coated the hardwood floors, muffling my footsteps as I followed a trail of smaller footprints leading towards the staircase. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the windows, casting elongated shadows that danced in silent reverie. Each step up the stairs evoked a cascade of memories. The chip in the 3rd step from a long-forgotten mishap, the loose board that had betrayed my teenage escapades. As I reached the top landing, a soft hum drifted down the hallway, a melody plucked from the recesses of my mind, a lullaby sung by my grandmother in a time lost to the ages. The floorboards beneath the worn carpet exuded warmth, a paradoxical sensation in a house devoid of functioning heating. My old bedroom door stood ajar, a deviation from my last visit's recollection. Beyond it, the hum crescendoed, a gentle zephyr carrying scents of fresh linens and summer rain. Pushing the door open revealed a room suspended in time, bathed in the amber glow of the setting sun, the wallpaper patterns retaining their vibrancy against all odds. A rocking chair swayed rhythmically by the window, an unseen hand guiding its motion, the lace curtains billowing inward as if stirred by an ethereal presence. A vase of wildflowers adorned my dresser, their hues vivid against the weathered wood, reminiscent of the blooms my grandmother would gather on Sunday mornings. A symphony of scents, sweet peas, wild roses, and lavender, mingled in the air, weaving a tapestry of forgotten moments. Approaching the window with a sense of predestined inevitability, I peered through the pristine glass at the resurrected garden below. No longer overgrown and desolate, it bloomed with vitality, flowers swaying in a choreography unbeknownst to the outside world. In the glass's reflection, a figure materialized behind me, a woman in a flowing dress, her gray hair coiled in a familiar bun, reminiscent of my grandmother's timeless elegance. Turning, I found the room devoid of any corporeal presence, the rocking chair's sway uninterrupted, the hum reduced to a mere whisper. Nestled on its cushion lay a solitary wildflower, dew-kissed and vibrant, a testament to the ephemeral beauty of moments captured in time. As I lifted the flower, its petals cool beneath my touch, the scent of lavender enveloped me, a phantom embrace that evoked memories long buried. Through the years, I have revisited the house, content to observe from afar without venturing inside. In the hush of twilight, when shadows lengthen and the world holds its breath, I glimpse the curtains stir, a silent invocation of bygone spirits. Sometimes a figure materializes, perhaps my grandmother, or a youthful incarnation of my mother, or a child bearing my likeness, playing with relics of a forgotten era. The house stands as a sentinel between past and present, a testament to the fluidity of time and memory. I no longer question the appearance of fresh flowers on the doorstep each Sunday morning, nor the echoes of laughter that drift on the evening breeze. Some places transcend the boundaries of reality, existing in the liminal space between nostalgia and truth, beckoning us to linger in their ephemeral embrace. In the end, I came to understand that the figure in the window was not an observer, but a guardian, a custodian of memories thought lost to the annals of time. Though the house remains empty, its walls whisper secrets of yesteryears, cradling fragments of a life once lived. And in that knowledge I find solace, knowing that, in some ethereal realm, the house will forever remain a sanctuary for the echoes of the past. Story 39. The concrete floor felt icy beneath my bare feet as I descended the basement stairs, the scent of musty wood and aged dust swirling around me. My quest for a forgotten photo album led me to a corner where a mannequin stood, its gaze now fixed upon me under the flickering glow of the basement light. This mannequin, a relic from an estate sale years ago, exuded an air of mystery with its weathered features hinting at untold tales of the past. Initially, I dismissed the subtle movement I noticed, attributing it to the play of shadows in the dimly lit basement. Yet, the stillness of the mannequin felt purposeful, as if it held a silent message in its porcelain-like facade that seemed to subtly breathe with life. The ambient sound of rain outside added a serene rhythm, its droplets painting intricate patterns on the small basement window, their soft melodies harmonizing with the enigmatic presence of the mannequin. With each step closer, the aged floorboards whispered tales of yesteryears, while the mannequin's unblinking eyes reflected a depth that transcended mere inanimacy. Memories of my grandmother's cryptic tales resurfaced, reminding me that some stories dwell in the unseen spaces between perception and understanding. Surrounded by artifacts of my past, the mannequin stood out, almost pulsing with a hidden vitality, its imperfections narrating silent sagas of bygone eras. The shifting shadows cast by the flickering light played tricks on my perception, teasing subtle movements that left me questioning reality. The coolness in the air, akin to the gentle embrace of approaching autumn, enveloped me as I delved deeper into the enigma of the mannequin's presence. Time seemed to lose its grip in this peculiar space, where the mannequin stood as a sentinel of forgotten memories. Who had once owned it? What silent narratives had it witnessed? What enigmas lay concealed within its silent form? The rain's soothing cadence outside whispered fragments of stories too delicate to grasp fully, weaving a tapestry of intrigue around the enigmatic mannequin. Amidst the uncertain flicker of light, a sense of curiosity replaced fear, drawing me closer to the guardian of untold secrets. Some mysteries, I realized, were not meant for unraveling, but for experiencing in their profound silence. And so the mannequin stood, an eternal sentinel of memories beyond our comprehension, its silent vigil a testament to the mysteries that dwell within the forgotten whispers of time. Story 40. The rain whispered softly against the window pane, a gentle lullaby that filled the room with a calming embrace. The air carried the fragrance of damp earth and lingering warmth from a cup of tea resting on the wooden desk, wisps of steam rising lazily into the quiet night. It was a night made for losing oneself in the pages of a book, letting the words carry you into dreams without a worry in the world. But then, 3 distinct knocks shattered the tranquility, sharp and purposeful. A sudden interruption that made me freeze, my breath caught in anticipation. Who could be calling at this late hour? The familiar creak of my old armchair accompanied my movements as I carefully marked the page of my well-loved paperback, fingers tracing the words gently. The clock on the wall, its hands pointing to 11:47 p.m., added its rhythmic ticking to the symphony of raindrops outside. Living on the top floor meant unexpected visitors were a rarity, especially in the dead of night. The idea of someone standing outside my door at this hour sent a shiver down my spine, goosebumps prickling my skin. I remained motionless, straining to hear any further sounds amidst the gentle cadence of the rain and the low hum of the radiator. Maybe it was just my imagination, a product of the eerie tales I indulged in during these late hours. Slowly, I settled back into the plush armchair, pulling the soft blanket snugly around me, seeking solace in its warmth. And then it came again. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, each one echoing the previous with precision. My heart quickened its pace, not out of fear but out of a strange recognition. There was a familiarity in that pattern, a memory dancing at the edge of my consciousness like a half-remembered dream. I rose from the chair, my footsteps muffled by thick socks on the wooden floor. The warm glow of the reading lamp cast gentle shadows that swayed and danced around me as I approached the door. A peculiar realization struck me. The usual draft that seeped beneath the door was absent, a stark contrast to the storm raging outside. Pressing my palm against the door, the wood felt unusually warm, as though basking in sunlight on a rainy night. Closing my eyes, I immersed myself in the sensations enveloping me. The rain's whisper, the distant rumble of thunder, the subtle vibration of the door beneath my touch. 3 more knocks sounded, softer this time, almost hesitant, as if trying to convey a message without startling. With each tap, the warmth from the door pulsed through my hand, a gentle energy spreading up my arm in soothing waves. A fragment of an old tale from my grandmother flickered in my mind. Her words about nights like these when boundaries blurred and visitors from other realms sought to share wisdom long forgotten. Certain doors lead to realms beyond our grasp, she would say, her voice a whisper in the night. Standing there, hand pressed to the door, I wondered if this was one of those doors she spoke of. The knocking ceased, yet the warmth lingered, a comforting presence akin to a steady heartbeat. The rain outside seemed to echo the earlier pattern of knocks, falling in a rhythm that synchronized with my heartbeat. Time seemed to stretch and bend, the world around me taking on a golden hue, a dreamlike quality that painted everything in a soft, ethereal light. I never opened the door that night. Instead, I stood in that moment until the warmth gradually faded, the rain resuming its random melody. Returning to my armchair, I found my tea still steaming, untouched by the passage of time. The clock remained frozen at 11:47 p.m., as if time itself had stood still during that mysterious encounter. On quiet, rainy nights since, I've felt that same warmth emanating from the door, a gentle reminder of the enigmatic night that changed something deep within me. I've learned to cherish these moments, these whispers of the unknown that hint at a reality beyond our grasp. The knocks never returned, but a shift occurred within me that night, a newfound understanding that some secrets are not meant to be unraveled, but to be embraced in their ambiguity. Some doors are better left unopened, not out of fear, but out of reverence for the delicate balance between the seen and the unseen. The true mystery lies not in the identity of the visitor, but in the awakening it sparked within me, a dormant part of my soul now stirred to life. Drifting off to sleep that night, a profound sense of peace enveloped me, a tranquility I had never known before. The rain continues to fall, the clock continues its steady rhythm, and occasionally on nights touched by magic, I feel that familiar warmth against my palm. And in those moments I smile, content in the knowledge that some enigmas are best left as gentle mysteries, guiding us into slumber with their unanswered riddles. Story 41. In the midst of the enveloping darkness, a faint glow from the street lamp outside cast a feeble light into the room. Restless, I shifted in bed, seeking solace in a new position. only to be halted by a peculiar sensation. There, at the foot of my mattress, a subtle weight lingered, as though a silent observer perched motionless. The stillness of the night wrapped around me, punctuated by the familiar creaks of the aged house settling into the late hours. With bated breath, I lay motionless, attuned to the mysterious presence at my feet. The weight remained constant, a gentle indentation on the mattress, patient and unwavering. The nocturnal symphony of whispers from the rustling leaves outside the window carried an enigmatic message, stirring a sense of intrigue within me. Time lost its hold as I dwelled in this suspended moment, each passing minute shrouded in a veil of uncertainty. Shadows danced along the walls, breathing with the rhythm of the night, while my heart beat in synchrony with the primal essence of the world around me. As my eyes adjusted to the dimness, shapes materialized from the shadows, the contour of furniture, the drape of curtains, and a deeper, more profound darkness at the edge of my bed. Rather than fear, a calm curiosity washed over me, drawing me into a realm of ancient tales and forgotten legends. The tick-tock of the bedside clock marked the passage of time, a gentle reminder of life's ceaseless march. A passing car momentarily flooded the room with light, revealing nothing beyond ordinary shadows, yet the weight at the foot of the bed persisted, a steadfast presence in the night. Subtle shifts in the atmosphere hinted at a deeper connection to the unseen world. A metallic tang in the air, shadows with newfound depth, and a silence pregnant with meaning. Memories of nights past flooded my mind, weaving a tapestry of shared moments with this elusive visitor. With the softening touch of pre-dawn light, the weight ebbed away like mist evaporating in the morning sun. I dared not gaze directly at the spot it vacated, understanding that some truths are meant to be felt rather than seen. As the room bathed in the gentle glow of early morning, an intangible transformation took hold. The space seemed to expand, embracing newfound possibilities and unseen realities. Each night since, I've lain in bed with heightened awareness, attuned to the nuances of darkness, silence, and shadows. Occasionally, in the depths of night, I sense that familiar weight at the foot of my bed once more. Instead of fear, I welcome its presence, listening to the nocturnal murmurs and pondering the stories it has come to witness. The room may appear empty, but it teems with unseen companionship and untold mysteries, waiting to be unraveled in the hush of night. Story 42. The gentle rhythm of raindrops tapping against my window had become a familiar companion during my late-night writing escapades. Each droplet painted shimmering trails down the glass, weaving an ever-changing tapestry of liquid light. The soft glow of my desk lamp enveloped me in a cozy amber embrace, while the rest of the room slumbered in peaceful darkness. I found solace in observing the raindrops, seeking out hidden narratives among their wandering paths. But on this particular night, a subtle shift in their dance caught my attention. The water moved in curious ways, almost as if guided by an unseen force. Initially, I brushed it off as a trick of exhaustion, the rain's gentle lullaby nearly coaxing me into the realm of dreams. Yet the intricate patterns persisted, growing more defined with each passing moment. Droplets avoided certain areas on the glass, forming dry patches that outlined a mysterious figure. Intrigued, I leaned in closer, my breath hitching as I peered at the reflection. Beyond the rain, I glimpsed the dimly lit interior of my room. And there, within that layered mirror of glass and water, a peculiar sight awaited. My own reflection seemed slightly disjointed, moving out of sync with my gestures, as if dancing to a melody only it could hear. The rain's whisper intensified, a delicate symphony caressing my senses. Mesmerized, I watched as the reflection's hand reached out to touch the glass, a gesture my own hand did not mirror. The movement flowed with an elegance that felt alien, yet strangely familiar, like a choreography unknown to me. A gentle warmth enveloped me, contrasting the cool air by the window. The features of my reflection subtly transformed, blurring the lines between the known and the unknown. Eyes gazed back at me, holding a wisdom deeper than any I had glimpsed in my own reflection, a wisdom echoing across ages. Motionless, I witnessed the gradual metamorphosis, the face transcending gender, age, and time itself. Silver threads of rain wove intricate patterns around the figure, defying gravity in mesmerizing circles. A flicker of my desk lamp briefly dimmed the room, and in that fleeting darkness, a presence brushed against me, tender as a mother's caress. As the light steadied, my reflection returned to mirroring my movements flawlessly. Yet the rain persisted in its enigmatic dance, a silent testament to the extraordinary visitation. Hours slipped by as I sat by the window, contemplating the inexplicable encounter. The lingering presence felt like a cherished melody, neither unsettling nor intrusive. With the dawn's arrival, the rain gradually receded, leaving behind only mundane water streaks on the window pane. Now on rainy nights I find myself drawn to that window, abandoning pen and paper on my desk. In those rare moments when the rainfall creates a perfect mirror, I catch glimpses of that other self observing me through the glass. We share a silent understanding, aware that certain mysteries are not meant to be unraveled but experienced. The rain continues to fall, each droplet carrying the promise of another ethereal rendezvous. And in those suspended moments between watcher and watched, I ponder if in some distant realm, another iteration of myself sits by their own window, yearning to glimpse my world through the glistening veil of rain. Story 43. Night had draped the ancient countryside, dwelling in a cloak of profound serenity. Nestled in my cherished armchair beside the crackling fireplace, I observed the shadows waltz on the walls, while the flames leisurely devoured the logs. The warmth enveloped me like a cozy embrace, as outside, the autumn breeze tenderly rustled the tree leaves. Amidst this perfect tranquility, a peculiar sound captivated my senses. A pure, childlike giggle resonating from the upper floor of the house, a laughter reminiscent of silver bells. Pausing to absorb the melody, I let it intermingle with the fire's soft crackle. There was an air of innocence to it, a joyous laughter, almost musical in nature. Yet, having dwelled alone in this abode for over 2 decades, I had never welcomed children within its walls. Intrigue began to trickle through me like a gentle stream, gradually dispelling the drowsiness that had nearly overtaken me. With deliberate movements, I rose from the armchair, relishing the sensation of my feet meeting the aged Persian rug. The floorboards murmured softly underfoot as I made my way towards the staircase. The candlelight from the living room cast a warm, inviting glow, casting my shadow on the walls in a silent dance. Ascending the stairs, I noticed the air growing cooler with each step. It was not a chilling cold, but rather a delicate caress on the skin, akin to the breeze near the shore. The laughter echoed once more, closer this time, emanating from the guest room. A room seldom frequented, adorned with antique furniture draped in ghostly white sheets, gently swaying as if stirred by an unseen hand. The door stood ajar, emitting a silvery light distinct from any other within the house. Not moonlight, too warm for that, nor the glow of electric lamps. It was a different light, pulsating softly, akin to a tranquil heartbeat. Pushing the door open, the ancient wood sang a familiar tune. The room unfolded before me, bathed in that ethereal luminescence. The draped furniture formed comforting shapes, resembling clouds in a clear sky. And there, perched on the windowsill, I beheld a sight that caught my breath. Not a defined figure, but a play of light and shadow resembling a child. The laughter chimed once more, unmistakably originating from that radiant presence. No fear gripped me, only a profound sense of awe. The light child seemed to toy with its radiance, painting luminous patterns on the walls as if crafting with light itself. Drawing nearer, I felt the room's temperature gently fluctuate between cool and warm, like gentle waves lapping at the shore. As I approached, the familiarity of the figure struck me. In its fluid movements, I recognized echoes of my childhood gestures during solitary play. The realization washed over me with the sweetness of a forgotten memory. That laughter, so crystalline and innocent, was my own childhood laughter. Time seemed to stretch as I beheld this surreal spectacle. The light child continued its wordless play, occasionally punctuated by that melodious laughter now echoing like a reverberation from the past. I refrained from speaking or interrupting, wary of shattering the spell of tranquility and nostalgia. Gradually, the silvery light began to dim, reminiscent of a winter sunset. The child's form grew increasingly ethereal until only a faint glow remained. The final laughter, almost a whisper, bid a gentle farewell before dissolving into darkness. I lingered in the room for what felt like an eternity, enveloped in a serene silence. The draped furniture lay still. The air resumed its usual temperature. Yet, something had shifted. The guest room, once a repository for dusty memories, now held a precious enigma. Returning to my armchair by the fire, its embers smoldering, I settled amidst the cushions, realizing I would never fully grasp the events of that night. Was it a dream, a recollection, or perhaps a deeper essence, a message from the past manifesting through a child's laughter in the shadows? Since that night, whenever I passed by the guest room, I paused to listen. On the quietest nights, I catch a faint echo of that crystalline laughter, akin to a soothing lullaby guiding me towards slumber. And with a smile, I choose to leave the mystery untouched, a tender secret shared between myself and the child who laughs in the darkness.